The problem of school violence is not so strange to us and makes people bitterly want to eradicate every time they hear about it. Today's story is the same, the story of a high school boy who is living in despair under the torment of bullies. He was a very good student, but his strength was weak and a genuine nerd, so he fell prey to thugs. Then one day, as if fate, a super combat instructor entered his life. That coach is a fiery beautiful girl and extremely good at martial arts. How will friction between the student and this hot girl who is skilled in martial arts, and how you will fight the bullies in school, please follow this journey. The story opens with the mother introducing a new friend to her son, who is dragged out of the house by his mother without understanding anything. Hello son, the student standing here is your friend's daughter, from now on she will live with us on the second floor. The boy who heard this turned to whisper to his mother why he didn't say anything. Suddenly someone moved in, but there was a daughter living on the second floor, mother's house, whatever she likes to do, hurry up and say hello. Under his mother's hard gaze, the boy reluctantly blushed, shyly saying 2 words of hello. The student in the pink shirt opposite saw this and reached out her hand to shake hands. Hi sir, just call me Lyman Che, it's nice to meet you. This is a pretty little girl with short shoulder-length hair and big round eyes that look lovely. The boy reached out to shake hands with the girl but didn't dare to look straight because he was embarrassed. Greeting my uncle, I'm Kim Che Hi Australia. Until now, despite greeting and shaking hands, the 17-year-old Kim Che Hyo kept his face down with flushed cheeks. Lymanch looks calm and is 17 years old this year. This is the house where the Kim Che Hyo family has lived, a house that is not too big but just enough for mother and daughter and soon welcomes another guest. The area on the second floor where used to be a storage room has now been cleaned to make room for little Lyman Che, who will live on the second floor alone, and my mother and I will live on the first floor. While Kim Che Hyo was thinking about it, Min Che spoke up, you go to Dang Min Third School, right, so I will transfer there tomorrow. Let's help each other out. Che Hyo heard this, blushed awkwardly and hurriedly nodded, what transferred to his school? Seeing that everything was settled, the mother waved goodbye to the 2 children to go to work and told her son to remember to help you pack up. Yes, go carefully. Kim Che Hyo seeing this girl greet so respectfully, it seems like a polite person. If he wasn't good at talking to girls, he knew what to do with this situation. Just as Kim Che Hyo was confused about how to talk, the other girl's tone once again called out to him. One of her hands was fumbling in her pocket. Is there a lighter? Min Che looked at him and asked in a cold tone that was different from his docile one earlier. Hearing this, Che Hyo gasped in surprise and put on the lighter. So I asked if you had a lighter in your house, idiot. Suddenly being cursed made Kim Che Hyo not understand anything but flushed all over her face. What is this girl supposed to be, a bear's head? Seeing him standing there fiddling around without saying anything made Min Che approach angrily. Why just stand there and not answer? Ah, this guy can't even look at people face to face anymore and can't answer. At the girl's complaint, Kim Che Hyo kept her face down without daring to look up again. Min Che saw this and gave him a teasing smile. Could he be that kind of nerd? Hearing the 2 words of a book made Kim Che Hyo so angry that he gritted his teeth. The nerd called himself a nerd. The next morning at the school where Che Hi Australia attended. At this point the boy is being held by some guy with his mocking smile. Let me eat your bread for haha. What a stupid nerd. Looking at this situation, it seems that Kim Che Hi Australia is being bullied by these tall guys and he doesn't dare to protest. Once again hearing the 2 words nerd, Kim Che Hi Australia was extremely angry and trembled his whole body but did not dare to do anything. He was not a nerd, of course the bearheads called him that, but it all started at the beginning of the semester when everyone was just starting to get to know each other. Kim was sitting on his desk when a redhead approached him and wanted to get acquainted because he looked quite gentle. Hey dude, you look pretty gentle, but I'm a little different. Can you go to the cafeteria to buy banana milk for me? Faced with this strange offer, Kim Che Hyo asked in bewilderment, why should I do that? You go and buy it yourself. Oh so what? The redhead nodded and finished that sentence and slapped Kim Che Hyo hard in the face. This bastard said buy it if you don't want to die. The redhead with that weird look on his face looked towards Kim Che Hyo with a wicked smile. Che Hi Australia was just at the beginning of the school year and was slapped for a bewildered blow that didn't understand what her child was. Why did he hit him? Kim Che Hyo had just opened his mouth to ask before he could finish his sentence when he was slapped with another slap. The constant slaps kept punching Kim Che Hyo's head. Why hit you? Why do you keep hanging up? Why you bastard, haha. This idiot nerd, haha. And since that day Kim Che Hyo has been the object of bullying for the amusement of the thug bastards in the class. Actually, there was no reason, it was just that he was too easygoing to be like that. Back to the reality now. That thug took Kim Che Hi Australia's bread and he also told him why he bought red bean cake because he hated red bean cake so much. Kim Chae-hi Australia hurriedly apologized. Sorry, I forgot. Haha, okay, everyone can forget. The thug bastard who had just finished speaking punched him hard in the stomach, causing him pain in his heart. Anyone can forget, but if you make a mistake, you have to get punished. Don't you want to be hit? Kim Chae-hi was punched so badly that tears welled up in her eyes, but when she heard her question, she still tried to answer. So 3. That bastard gave him a savage smile. 3 ha ha ha, 3 by 3 is 9. In the laughter of the guys around him, the red-haired bastard repeatedly delivered heavenly punches to Kim Chae-hi's stomach that he couldn't resist. At this time, one of the children who was guarding the door immediately shouted when the dean was approaching. The redhead saw that and stopped. Haha, Chae-hi Australia, there are a few more, let me continue fighting, don't hide there, playing with this dog is really interesting. Kim Chae-hi was beaten to the point of shaking, but only dared to keep his face down, unable to resist at all, but only dared to curse those bareheaded dogs. By this time the head teacher had walked into the classroom with the file in hand. Okay, all went back to their seats. Is today's class empty or not? Today our class has a new student moving there. Behind the teacher is the sound of the footsteps of a new student. Kim Chae-hi had just walked back to her seat when she looked up questioningly. When he saw the face of the new student, Chae-hi couldn't help but gasp in surprise. Please introduce yourself. Yes, hello everyone, I'm Lyman Chae. Nice to see you guys. For help. Beautiful girl with short hair and a mole just below her eyelids. At the bottom of the classroom, Chae-hi couldn't keep his mouth shut. He was the one who came to the second floor yesterday and why moved to his class. After Min Chae finished introducing, the teacher looked around and announced, okay, now we have to arrange a seat for Lyman Chae, let's sit here. I had an empty seat behind Chae-hi Australia's place. The teacher looked at it and immediately pointed towards the empty chair or behind Kim Chae-hi, startling the boy too. Hearing this name Chae-hi Australia, the Min Chae girl secretly wondered where this name sounded. The girl glanced in the direction of the teacher's direction before she was startled in surprise. Following that gaze she saw the landlord's brat sitting awkwardly below, not daring to look up here. He's a guy who lives on the first floor, and Chae-hi sighed awkwardly, and it was so accidental. Okay, let's get ready for the first period. Min Chae, let's go back to our seats. How could it be so casual? Moreover, he didn't expect to sit right behind him, not understanding how normal it was for Chae-hi to communicate with people, but when he first encountered this, he was already covered in sweat. Although she said to help him, there was nothing a nerd like me could do. Chae-hi winced, remembering her mother's advice. At this moment suddenly a certain foot pressed into Chae-hi Australia's ass. What's wrong? Something just touched my ass. Kim turned to look back to find that the person who had just him was Lee Min Chae sitting right behind him. She saw him turn around and immediately threw him something. A neatly folded piece of paper struck Chae-hi Australia's face. Chae-hi hurriedly opened the paper to see it when he found this inscription on it. Nerd, don't act like you know me. After reading it, Kim Chae-hi angrily turned over the paper. Even if you act like you know, I won't have the courage. We have nothing to do with each other, and despite Chae-hi Australia's inner cursing vehemently, the class has already begun. At recess, Chae-hi did not go down to the cafeteria or out of class, but still sat at the drawing place, writing something on a blank sheet of paper. Then he folded the paper into 4 and thought that, even if I didn't like him at all, it wouldn't be good for him to just move in and leave it on. After folding the paper, Kim Chae-hi walked over to Min Chae's desk, setting the paper down on it. Min Chae was bewildered by this action. Seeing that Chae-hi had left the classroom, she reached out and opened the blank paper. It's amazing that on the paper the school map is detailed and even carefully annotated with tricks that can be wriggled around the school, such as where the wall can be inserted when it is late for school. It also carefully wrote down which food to eat in the cafeteria or what else to ask for. This detail and care shown in the map also made Min Chae quite confusing to let out a breath. At the same time, in the men's restroom at the end of the corridor. At this time, Kim Chae-hi Australia is being bullied by thugs around him. Chae-hi Australia, just now, there are 4, right? Then you're about to go and clench your teeth in there, this time it's your jaw, the red snail thug laughing savagely as he billows his fist. Kim Chae-hi knew his fate next, so he clenched his teeth and closed his eyes, but still silently cursed in his heart, dull bastards. Ready to go, one blow, the guy said with a laugh as he swung a powerful punch straight at Chae-hi Australia's head. But the excruciating pain didn't come, instead it was a light slap on the cheekbone, which made Chae-hi a little confused. At this point the thug laughed and said that he didn't hit you, so don't worry, he wasn't that bad. This look of the thug made Chae-hi panic unbelievably. Naturally, why was this crazy guy? But Chae-hi, I have something to ask of you. So Kim Chae-hi asked awkwardly what it was. I heard that people said you were good at school, and before you could answer, the thugs around you suddenly exclaimed, "You really look at that kid like a game addict." Che-hyo heard the teasing and glanced behind him to see who had just laughed at him and whispered in his heart, "Look at yourself more like a drug addict, bastard." The red-haired thug only explained now because he heard the class president say that Che-hyo Australia is good at school. This Kim Che-hyo Australia guy in high school is the second place in the whole school. Oh, that nerd is a genius, haha. Not a genius, but back then it was true that I had done quite well in the exams, but so what? Che-hyo silently wondered. At this moment the archer suddenly grabbed his hand. "So I mean to help me this midterm." This suggestion of the thug surprised Che-hyo. What was the intention of helping him in this midterm exam? The thug saw Che-hyo ask again, and then smiled coldly. "Why is this idiot so stupid? I said you copied the paper and handed it to me." Che-hyo gasped in panic because if he copied the paper and he was caught, he would not lose it. Another thug next to him now wondered why Sangbom naturally wanted to do well in the midterm exam. The red-haired thug named Sangbom heard this, and smiled and said that he was going to study abroad. "But my mom doesn't give it away. If I do well, she'll let me go. I just want to get out of this damn Korean soil, haha. All in all, I need good grades in the upcoming exam. Can you help me, this damn guy?" Faced with the violent threat of the extremely frightened thug Che-hyo Australia with a lot of thoughts in his head, how if he was caught helping him spin, it would be a big deal. Seeing him think for so long, the other thug angrily landed a hard blow to his stomach. Thinking for so long. The violent kick made Kim Che-hyo let out a wide-eyed glare. Then because of the pain, he collapsed on the floor of the toilet, the cramping pain tightening his gut and causing him to vomit incessantly on the ground. "My mother asked you again. After all, do you do it or not, Che-hyo Australia?" Kim Che-hyo's tears and drinks were all filled with pain, but hearing the thug's cold words, he also made a sound of agreement. Make a wise choice. I study abroad. You are even happier because you don't have to see me anymore." He was laughing happily, but suddenly the smile stopped. "But what kind of attitude do you have?" The thug saw Che-hyo Australia's angry glare. "Does your attitude mean that there is something dissatisfying? Your expression can't relax." "It's okay to preach your face," the thug said, punching Che-hyo repeatedly in the face. At this time, Che-hyo had been punched for bleeding from his nose with a pitiful weak trembling body. He only had to force a smile with 2 rows of tears that were even more unsightly than crying to appear happy in front of the thug. "Sorry Sangbom, I'm so happy." You look redder, bastard. Then just ask for you, Che-hyo Australia." And then the thugs pulled together in droves and got out of the toilet. "That kid has to fight to obey, but that guy is better at school than I think. With such a bad side, he has to study well to make up for it." The boy alone knelt in the toilet listening to the teasing laughter of the thugs fading away, 2 rows of incessant tears rolling down his cheeks and clenched teeth. In fact, compared to studying, he wanted to be better at using his fists. He wanted to make those bear heads die under his fists. Very quickly a school day ended with a beautiful sunset. That evening in the home of the Kim family, which had been occupied by 2 people, a new member was temporarily housed above. The delicious vegetable stir-fried beef on a hot pan was being tossed back and forth by Che-hyo Australia's mother. Che-hyo called Min-che down to eat. Che-hyo Australia listened to his mother's request and nodded yes, but suddenly realized in shock that he was screaming. "Yes, why do we have to eat together? What about the moon is of course for dinner together?" Che-hyo's expression at this time was like constipation because he was extremely afraid to eat with his daughter. Living together, of course, is eating together and hurrying up. I have no choice but to walk out the door, you know. Yes, living together, so there's nothing I can do anymore. Following the stairs up to the 2nd floor, Che-hyo knocked on the door of M-che's room. As he knocked on the boy's door, Lee Child shyly called out the girl's name. "Why don't you answer?" While he was embarrassed, he suddenly heard 2 words, "Come in." "He just told me to come in, so I guess it's okay to come in." But that doesn't seem to be the case when Min-che comes out of the bathroom in his mouth and still mutters the lyrics, "Come and go into my heart is la 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 la." The kid had just come out of the bathroom with a towel wrapped around her when she shouted loudly, "What a pervert!" Hurriedly reached out and grabbed the kettle placed right next to it. Then Min-che threw the kettle directly into Che-hyo Australia's face. Kim Che-hyo was struck by a sudden attack that knocked her backwards unconscious. His mind was now spinning, not knowing what the moon and wind were. It wasn't until a moment later that one of Min-che's feet kicked Che-che's body lightly. "Hey, wake up right away, don't sleep anymore." Waking up to the nerd, it was time for dinner. The little girl who had now changed into a neat and charming outfit was coldly calling out. Che-hyo was shocked by the noise, woke up to see Min-che's leg resting on him and panicked and shouted, "What's wrong? What's wrong? Don't you remember anything? You got hit by me with a kettle and then fainted, you idiot." Dull, but he was a pervert. Why would he naturally enter the girl's room without saying it first? Min-chae was so annoyed by this guy's actions that he immediately questioned. Sorry, I heard you say come in, so my mom told me to call you down for dinner with me. Chae-hyo hurriedly closed her eyes and didn't dare to look straight and awkwardly answered. If you come in any more later, I'll let you give that blow. This disgusting bastard is perverted. Being cursed so badly made Kim Chae-hyo run out of words, always not knowing how to respond. Then they went downstairs to eat with their mother, and this was the first meal the three of them had eaten together. After tasting a tablespoon of min-chae, I nodded with a smile. Oh my god, it was so delicious. This shy docile look of the little girl was different from the thuggish coldness she had earlier in the face of Chae-hyo Australia. Auntie, soybean soup is so good. Chae-hyo Australia's mother was praised and smiled happily and replied, oh my god, that's so good. It was also because my mother told me that I liked soybean soup, so she tried it somehow. My mother told her. Haha. Really, this is the best soybean soup I've ever eaten. She is viscous, Min-chae constantly praises, making Chae-hyo's mother laugh with all her eyes very happy. Watching the two of them laugh and joke with each other, Kim Chae-hyo couldn't help but think to herself, it turns out that he is the kind of person who discusses herself in front of adults, or is he just so cold to herself? Well, why did this Min-chae have each of her children to move here, and was chatting happily, so Chae-hyo's mother immediately asked. It's a bit embarrassing, but it's actually for a reason. I moved here to concentrate on my studies. Hearing this reason startled me. How could he study Asia? The startled boy stood in annoyance and gasped. Seeing Min-chae's cold, mute face startled Chae-hyo to come to his senses again. He was too ridiculous. Yes, he actually has a building in his hometown. And he promised to leave the house to his grandson who fell into college in Seoul. Everyone at the dinner table who heard this reason suddenly rolled their eyes. How could a whole building always be so cool? Chae-hyo couldn't help but secretly thought in his heart that he was jealous. Yes, she used it as motivation to work hard. Min-chae was excited to talk about why she moved here, but it wasn't 100% true. Because I live in the countryside, the quality of teaching is not as good as above here. Since I was young, I only practice sports, so for me, this is also the first time to study properly, haha. Mother Chae-hyo heard this, and immediately smiled and clapped her hands. Well, that's good, Min-chae, let's work hard to become the owner of that building. Kim Chae-hyo was silent, but it was true that he thought the building was respectable. Besides, he said he knew what kind of sport it was. Suddenly at this moment the mother patted Chae-hyo Australia's back. Oh yes, and almost forgot, if it was school, there was someone we couldn't ignore here. It's the top one student in the whole school. Hearing these words from the astonished Min-chae's mother shouted, what's wrong with him? You're really the top one in the whole school. Oh yes, but what kind of expression was made by the girl's gaze? After all, her son has never missed the number one spot in the whole school. Although he looks a little stupid on the outside, he must be as smart as you. Why would you say your son looks so stupid? Min-chae listened to this, and stared at Kim Chae-hyo thoughtfully for a while without saying anything, not knowing what she was thinking in her head. When the bright moonlight was present in the sky, the three of them had already finished their dinner, thanking her for the delicious meal. Okay Min-chae, go up to the house. The meal was really delicious, thank you very much, Min-chae said at the end of the heart, making Chae-hyo's mother smile happily. Seeing this look of hers, Chae-hyo couldn't help but think to herself, after all, that she couldn't understand what his personality was like. As he walked over to the mysterious Mu-chae whispered in his ear, hey nerd, talk a little. Then Chae-hyo followed Min-chae so he could speak privately. The two of them walked out of the house and walked down the street to a nearby staircase. Hey, where are you going? Chae-hyo followed behind and couldn't help but ask. At this point, Min-chae stopped and sat down on the stairs. She then pulled out a cigarette and placed it in her mouth along with the lighter. The flickering flames lit the cigarette. After the smoke had risen, Min-chae looked at Kim Chae-hyo with a smile. Hey, you are the top one in the whole school teaching me to walk. Something that was startled by the sudden suggestion rolled his eyes. But the boy immediately reacted and shook his head and said no. Now it's Limanch's turn to marvel. Why, if I can give that building later, I'll give you a room. Chae-hyo still firmly shook his head and turned to leave. It's not because of that, there's another reason. It's that I don't like being bullied, so I don't want to teach people to bully people. Here I go, you finish smoking and go back to the house, say it, and then Chae-hyo turned and left, leaving me bewildered, not understanding anything. What did that guy say? She gritted her teeth. Hey, I'll introduce you to your girlfriend, Min-chae shouted loudly. In my hometown, many pretty girls are always Asian. Chae-hyo Australia's face was still full of determination at this time. What about beautiful girls? But it was all bare heads. Among them was one who liked the type of person like him. His chest was even bigger, and while Chae was very adamant, Min Chae's next words made him stand back. This offer seemed so tempting that Chae Australia began to sweat in bewilderment. But immediately the boy hurriedly shook his head, not to be too dangerous to almost be enchanted. Can't let that trick fool you anymore, you have to leave quickly. Just as Chae was about to move on, he heard some strange man's voice coming from behind, so introduce me to your friend. The boy hurriedly turned his head to look back when he saw that there were several tall and huge dummies surrounding Min Chae. He said that she had big breasts, didn't he? Just introduce them to us. Those guys are the thugs who occasionally loiter in this neighborhood are dead. Leave it open, but you look delicious too, no need to introduce your friend to me. The fat Australian thug looked at Min Chae with a perverted smile. Can you go make a cup with us somewhere? Faced with the teasing downward gazes of the three Min Chae thugs who lowered their faces and shook their heads, I'm not going anywhere. Why come with me, you guys have a lot of money, haha. Feeling that the situation is getting more and more unstable, Chae hurriedly looked around for people and was confused about what to do now. If you leave it like this, it will be a big deal. Now there's no one here to help, let's do it. Don't refuse to take a look knowing I like men too, you don't leave me alone, the fat thug said as he grabbed Min Chae's hand and pulled her to her feet. Chae Australia stood above in a panic, pulled out his phone, dialed the number, had to call 112 immediately, it was too dangerous. Down below facing the teasing and actions of the cold Min Chae thug said, yes I like that man. The fat thug heard this, and gave an even more perverted smile. Haha, you know right away, let's go with you guys. Yes, I like men, but to him. Min Chae said as he lifted his legs and placed his white hands on the thug's shoulders. But he's that bastard pig, not a man, she said as she landed a powerful blow to the fat man's face. Coincidentally, Chae saw this kick and gasped in disbelief in his eyes. The extremely violent blow on the pillow caused the thug's open face to ripple as well. He then collapsed, hitting his face on the ground, unconscious. What's that? Oh my god, he just sucked him out on my knees, oh my god. Witnessing this terrifying sight made Chae's heart not calm at all, like 1,000 horses running wild in it. The other two thugs were stunned to see their accomplices knocked out and immediately screamed, mad that slut wanted to die. The blonde cursed loudly as he rushed forward with a punch aimed at Min Chae's face. But Min Chae calmly began to defend himself in preparation for the attack. He seemed to be defending, he had to be like someone with a martial arts black belt. Seeing the battle that was about to take place, Chae was extremely nervous, covered in sweat but couldn't help. You die with me, bastard, your fists and the fierce face of the thug have come close. But before he could finish his sentence, a very quick punch came from Min Chae that punched him in the face. The punch was extremely strong and hit right in the nose, causing its nose to splash blood scattered on the ground. Not stopping there was more than enough opportunity. The girl immediately rushed up with extremely proficient and extremely powerful accurate punches, constantly eating violent attacks that made the thug's face disfigured, broke his bloody teeth, looked pitiful. And, of course, unable to bear the blow for too long, this line also followed the fate of his comrades, lying face down on the ground unconscious. After defeating one more, Min Chae glanced at the other standing there. Now there are no words that can describe the astonishment in Chae Australia's heart, and the bullets that killed one more person. Now only a tall, muscular man was left who also looked startled at the little one in front of him. He screamed angrily like a wild animal, what the fuck are you? I can lift 500 weights in 3 different exercises and as a black belt, he screams and rushes like a giant truck. On this side, the kid remained calmly defensive with her fists in her hands, not looking scared at all. His powerful punch swung straight at Min Chae's face but was quickly dodged by the girl. As soon as he dodged that powerful punch, Min Chae took the opportunity to turn and swing his elbow at the thug's face, making him silly. With a gentle blow, the tall thug followed in the footsteps of his 3 friends and fell to the ground, causing smoke and dust to fly. In less than a minute the 3 thugs had been neatly knocked out, they hadn't even reached the hem of Min Chae's shirt. Standing at the top of the stairs, Kim Chae trembled all over her body. What did I see? He had just knocked those 3 giants unconscious in a split second. At this time, Kim Chae remembered Min Chae's words earlier at dinner that since childhood she only practiced sports, so she did not study properly. Just now he obviously said he was doing every sport. What was that sport? Kim Chae thought in dismay as she shakily walked down the stairs to approach Min Chae. Min Chae, the boy called out to her. What, isn't it that you're gone? If you haven't left, at least call the police, you idiot, why let me beat them up so badly? Chae didn't answer, but just awkwardly asked again, what is the sport you said just now? This sudden question made Liminch also bewildered, not understanding anything. Her eyes kept staring at the kid in front of her. Nature asks about it, so that sport is martial arts. Hearing the two words martial arts, Che-hyo immediately excitedly widened his eyes and gulped. He remembered the brutal punches the thug in his class had given him all semester. Maybe that guy didn't know martial arts at all, but for a fuzzy chicken like him, he couldn't resist its power. So apart from crying when you get spanked, there's nothing else you can do. Remembering those painful scenes, Che-hyo's hands clenched into fists. Could this have been a good opportunity? Secretly determined, Che-hyo Australia opened his mouth to call out Lee Min-che's name. Hey Lee Min-che, I will help you study to help you get good grades. Suddenly receiving approval from Che-hyo, Min-che was also astonished. I'll help you, but teach me how to fight in return. After Che-che's suggestion, the air fell silent for a long time, then Min-che suddenly shook his head. I don't like it. Now it's Che-hyo's turn to ask in amazement why that's the case. Dumb, if I teach you martial arts, you know what that means? That means having to stick together, having to touch cypress, having to hug each other and smelling each other's sweat, and having to roll and fall constantly. You idiot, you think I want to do that to you? Just go to some gym and learn to walk. Che-hyo Australia tremblingly countered, I can't go to the gym for a reason. The bullies at school often go in and out of the gyms near my house. Lee Min-che heard this, but still shook her head, telling her that it was his business. In general, she couldn't do much sticky work with nerds. As for studying, I know how to make fights, you do it yourself. Saying that, Lee Min-che immediately walked away and went home, leaving Che-hyo standing there awkwardly. Can't help. Gosh, I thought it was a pretty good offer, but right now the thug seemed to be about to wake up, so Che-hyo panicked and ran away. After a while, the lights were turned off and everyone fell asleep. Che-hyo lay on the bed rolling back and forth, still unable to sleep, and he still remembered the story of the fight just now. Even among the bearheads he had met at school, he had never seen one hit like her. The strong, decisive and extremely professional blows are like a martial arts athlete competing for the country. Although she is a girl, her strength is as strong as a buffalo and does not relent at all. The thugs were thrown out there with only 1 or 2 blows and fainted. How good it would be if I could learn to fight from him, Che-hyo thought silently. Just like that, I have a chance to overcome those bullies. Don't I have to live in their torment forever? Very soon the sky was once again bright with every ripple of white clouds in the clear blue sky. My son goes to work, I leave the sandwiches on the table and eat and then go to school, and bring a portion for Min-che. Yes, you go carefully. But hearing that I had to bring it to Min-che, Che-hyo jerked me off. Yes, give it to her. Yes, thanks to my darling son. Oh my God, I had to go up and look for that little girl early in the morning. It was really annoying, but now that I live together, I can't do anything. But if yesterday's words I said didn't know if he changed his mind about yesterday. Che-hyo walked slowly up the stairs and couldn't help but think. Or did I ask again? Thinking about it, he went knocking on the door and called out Lee Min-che's name. He didn't answer, but if he kept coming in, he would get angry. So I left it in front of the door, and I was about to put the cake down in front of the door when the voice in the room came in and out. I told you to come in, so I went in here and there and was very embarrassed, but there was no other way for him to open the door and walk in. Catching Kim Che-hyo Australia's eye was Min-che in a uniform shirt and long legs as if she wasn't wearing pants. Seeing this hot scene, Kim Che-hyo screamed in panic, blushing all over her face. Lee Min-che saw his reaction and immediately knew what he was thinking, so she lifted her shirt to reveal the red pants inside. What was this pervert thinking? Sorry mom said to give Sanku to you to take it away. Che-hyo hurriedly handed out the cake but still closed her eyes tightly. You put it on the table and go, thank you. Then I'll leave it here. He was placing the cake on the table when he suddenly noticed several books lying on it. This set of practice topics is he said, soul alone to study but not wait. This is the primary school practice kit. Che-hyo Australia was amazed when he read the words on the syllabus. I still don't know how to solve this. God, sure, it's some old books that he brought with him, but how about going to high school and doing elementary school? But it seems to be a new guest. Oh my gosh, all of those books are elementary school. At this time, Che-hyo remembered Min-che's words last night that since childhood he only practiced sports, so studying was a bit new. It is true that he said that, but it is not so new. At this moment, Min-che finished brushing his teeth and walked out of the bathroom to see Che-hyo still standing there complaining. Hey dumb, you haven't gone yet, hurry up and go away, this idiot. Seeing that the master himself appeared, Che-hyo Australia couldn't help but point to the pile of books on the table and asked, Lee Min-che, is your uncle still solving these songs? Lee Min-che looked in the direction of the man in front of him when he saw his pile of books on the table. Her whole face was now gradually flushed like a tomato. Then the little girl immediately galloped towards Che-hyo Australia. Using his hands to force him into the wall, he was stunned. Because I talk to you a little more, you thought I was a friend, why interfere with my affairs, you don't peep other people's things anymore and quickly disappear from me. Maybe because she was found out to be in elementary school, she was extremely shy. Chae-hyo also knew that, so she awkwardly opened the door and walked out. Okay, I'm sorry, it's scary. But about last night's story that I talked about, that I will help you learn, instead you teach me how to fight. If you change your mind, tell me. Chae-hyo Australia's voice becomes reasonable, but thankfully it can still be heard clearly. Without such background knowledge, no academy would admit you, so I think it will be very difficult if you want to find a place to study more. So studying alone will be very hard. If you want to go to Seoul University, maybe I will tutor you. Seeing that Chae-hyo was still lingering, Min-chae immediately angrily threw the iron pile at the door and hurriedly walked away. Another day passed until that night when the moonlight was high in the sky. At this time, Chae-hyo was walking up the stairs to Min-chae's room because his mother asked him to bring her sweet potatoes. Gosh, she had to ask me to bring things to Min-chae. At the same time the gate was closing tightly when someone entered. Min-chae had just returned home when he saw the figure of Kim Chae-hyo standing in front of the door and said a grudge, "Why are you hanging around in someone else's room like that? Why did Min-chae appear there? So where did he just go?" Although he wondered in his heart, Chae-shi still spoke up to explain that his mother told him to bring her sweet potatoes. At this time, Ming-trae suddenly pondered for a moment before speaking. "Hey, wait for a moment and wait there." The girl walked up the stairs in annoyance and muttered curses in her mouth that looked so uncomfortable that Chae-hyo also wondered, what's wrong? "Hey nerd, I have something to tell you. I've gone to 3 tutoring academies now. Because of what's the entrance test I've been denied admission and it's a headache." Chae-hyo heard this, and asked in amazement what. "They told me that my abilities were only in elementary school, so they refused to accept me." Hearing Min-chae Chae-hyo Australia's annoyed voice nodding in agreement, "You are indeed at the elementary level. I've already told you that the academies don't recognize." Chae-hyo thought. "So you go ahead and do it." Min-chae was annoyed but agreed. "What else do you help me learn and I teach you to fight like you said last night?" Oh my god, all of a sudden, Chae-hyo stood bewildered when unexpected joy struck. Then the contract between the two of them just started and I didn't know what was going on or something going on in the near future. Today was the first session where the two agreed to tutor each other to help each other with the subjects that they were weak in. Kim Chae-hyo Australia with a whiteboard and black quills starts her class, so familiarize yourself with basic English first. Why did nature use honorifics? Min-chae wondered. Oh my god, study must be serious. Do you listen to lectures? Am I going to use the drum like that? First, let's be a simple test. Do you know what ass means? It's that cigarette. Min-chae remembers the pack of cigarettes in the ass. What the hell is it cigarettes? As for dat, why don't you know? So you know how to spell the word less? Chae-hyo kept asking which question Min-chae shook his head not knowing. Mom, you know absolutely nothing, you have to start from the alphabet. This angry Min-chae doesn't know if it's guilty. I don't know what to learn. So let's start from the alphabet first. Lee Min-chae's condition is much more serious than Chae-hyo Australia thinks because she barely knows her mother. And after the tutoring lesson with teacher Chae-hyo Australia, it was time for teacher Lee Min-chae's martial arts class. The girl's rosy white feet wiggled like fingers instructing. If you want to win, you have to know who the opponent is first. We first need to investigate him in detail. Investigating the fight, it must be done to that extent. Under the astonished gaze of Chae-hyo, Lee Min-chae nodded. Of course, you have to know what the weakness is to be able to win easily. So let's start from there. Practice observation, practice assessment, practice recognition. Hey nerd lifted up a little more. In the schoolyard I didn't understand what homework Min-chae was giving Chae-hyo Australia. Oh my god, you weigh so many pounds, you want to die me. Min-chae heard that and immediately wanted to die. I was so light. But is it true that those guys smoke here, so you don't see anyone? Chae-hyo Australia used all his strength to carry Min-chae on his shoulder and answered me. I said they would come out and wait a bit. Oh well, that's it. Following Lee Min-chae's gaze, a bunch of 3 or 4 schoolboys were pulling noisily over. The leader of that group was the red-haired thug with earrings. Hey, you're going to fight that red-headed cunning guy, isn't Min-chae asking in a whisper? Oh yes. Hey, you bring your own cigarettes and keep begging for piercings. The dog friends who have a cigarette are also sorry, haha. But Sangbom heard that you're going to fight somebody in a while. Yes, that dog has itchy eyes from the beginning, so I'm going to go fight him. Where do you fight? Sangbom with a cigarette in his mouth replied that school would fight in the basement parking lot. Min-chae hiding nearby heard him whisper to Chae-hyo, hey, that guy is going to fight, let's go see it too. See if you can, but first you can climb down, not too heavy. Min-chae was told angrily if he wanted to die. I pretended to ignore it lightly. As Min-chae kept stirring, Chae-hyo couldn't keep his balance, causing the two of them to fall to the ground. Where was there a noise? Sang Bom suddenly asked. on the side of the wall after falling. Min-chae was angrily giving Che-chae a fight. At school dismissal time in front of the gate leading to the basement parking lot, Che-hyo in disguise covered in jackfruit waited anxiously and asked, "But why should we go and watch them fight?" Min-chae heard this, and took a breath that caused cigarette smoke to fly. "Isn't it obvious to see how they fight? Isn't it that you want to beat him?" "Yes, but, if that's the case, shut up and listen to my words and watch carefully." Che-hyo couldn't help but complain, "Yes I know, but you're going to teach me to fight, not that I feel like a storage service. You dare doubt me, with our ranks so different it is not a matter of course to carry some bags and do so much. I said beforehand, don't compare you to me nerd." Hearing Min-chae Che-hyo's menacing voice nodding in panic, "I know." Well, the bare heads came together, and Che-hyo startled and motioned to Min-chae. "So let's go first, you leave your bag here for a while." In the basement parking lot, a crowd of students gathered together like gangs. At this time, Min-chae led Che-hyo covered in jackfruit and walked over to attract the attention of the girls standing there. The boy couldn't help but secretly think that the bareheads looked terribly aggressive. "Aren't you a new transfer student? Why are you here to watch a fight?" a girl asked. "Yes, that's why it's boring. Haha. Arrived at the right time. I heard that at your old school you were also in the bully group. I'll make a cigarette." "No need, I just finished smoking, haha." The girl who heard this also put away the packet of pills and pointed towards Che-hyo and asked who it was. Min-chae heard this and explained that there was no need to bother just being a junior in the countryside. Che-hyo saw that everyone was paying attention to him and trembled slightly with panic. Not to show his face here. There was an unwritten rule not to let children like me come and see. "Hey, let's start fighting." Min-chae saw this, and immediately gave Che-hyo a nudge on the shoulder and told him to look carefully. In the distance, surrounded by the crowd, Sangbom Barehead was standing confronting some guy. The two of them stared at each other like two real boxers on the ring. But it was only for a moment that the Sangbom revealed his vicious smile and disgusting tone. "Dull bastard, why do you keep messing around like that with me?" Facing Sangbom was a dark-haired guy who coldly countered, "Hearing that you broke my friend's finger." Sangbom laughed. This was just a bit of a mistake when kicking a ball. "So you're sorry, you bastard." Sangbom heard that, and patted the other person's shoulder with his hand and said okay. "But sorry for those eyes." That blink of a finger poked the dark-haired man's eye with a finger, causing him to scream in pain. What followed before the dark-haired guy reacted was a heavenly, fuzzy punch to this bastard. "You've crossed the line." "Hear it, nothing, but the dark-haired guy has been hit with a few brutal blows that he can't resist." At this point he turned around and threw a punch in Sangbom's face but was dodged by Sangbom, dumbfounding the dog. Sangbom dodged that punch, immediately throwing another shot, causing the dark-haired man to fall to the ground. With a few blows, the dark-haired guy who had been aggressive earlier was now lying on the floor extremely miserably. Bullets and fistfights are boring to ignore, so I think it's too terrible, through bombs fighting or too lightning. Everyone around him started cheering for Sangbom, while Che-hyo stood in one place, shaking his body in fear. Until now, Min-chae had been paying close attention to the actions of the two people in the middle of the field to be able to guess the strength of this Sangbom. With everyone's cheers, Sangbom too much momentum came forward. "It wasn't done, bastard had this last kick. The dog shouldn't have pretended to me like that." A heavenly kick was thrown right into the face of the guy lying on the ground, causing his teeth to flutter. His whole face was lying on the ground, beaten to bloody disfigurement. "Sangbom, sorry, now forgive me, I'm wrong, don't hit anymore, it hurts so much." Looking at this horrifying scene, Che-hyo glared wide-eyed. "Oh my god," fell out to the teeth and then gradually went without hitting anymore. "Sorry is my business, why do you have to apologize so?" Haha. Pumping with a face stained with a few rays of fresh blood, smiling like a monster. Then he took the guy's hand lying on the ground and said, "You told me to break your friend's finger. Is it so important that the dog's finger is so important? Then let me handle your fingers, haha." Floor Boem said as he picked up a dirty fire extinguisher and slammed it right down on that hand. Seeing this scene, Che-hyo was extremely frightened, startled. "Oh my god." This was followed by a scream of agonizing horror coming from the parking lot that made one couldn't help but shudder. Very soon it was dark with the streetlights turned on. At this time, Che-hyo was sitting on a swing in the park holding his head and groaning, "Absolutely not. It was absolutely impossible to defeat that monster." Now just remember the scene in the afternoon in the parking lot where Che-hyo Australia's body couldn't help but tremble. "I can't win, I can't." He kept moaning like that, which made Min-chae turn to kick an owl. "Stop moaning, this nerd has a headache. You can give me a month's worth." Che-hyo heard this, and raised his head in bewilderment and asked what he said. "Gosh, you heard that a month is enough to beat that guy. I also looked at his strength earlier. He is also of the normal type, but one thing is that he is very strong and strong-handed, so it is easy to freak people out. So whether you can do it or not, nerd, Min-chae turned his face to look at Chae-hyo and asked calmly. Kim Chae-hyo gasped at this point, not knowing how to respond. Can I beat that guy? Seeing him keep gasping, Min-chae angry at you. Don't believe me, nerd, why are you so stupid to answer? I know I will. But whether or not I can win against Sangbo, I don't know even if Liminch said so. It's just that I'm too scared, but without trying, I don't know what the outcome will be. I'm a nerd who specializes in suffering. Or just try, at the very least, it doesn't hurt to go back to being a nerd again, thinking about it. So Chae-hyo immediately nodded okay and I'll try, it's time to fight back. Time went on, until a month later, the students in the school began to take important exams. At this time, the exam schedule of subjects has also been specified by the teacher on the blackboard. The Sangbom guy came to Chae-hyo, you studied very hard before you came, didn't you? I just believe you. I'm about to study abroad, haha. A moment later, in a deserted corner of the stairs, Min-chae looked at the kid in front of him and asked if the nerd was ready. Didn't he decide to challenge Sangbom after 1 month? Chae-hyo heard this, and trembled slightly in embarrassment, wondering if I was too scared or if I didn't fight anymore. Oh my god, this coward, don't you feel like wasting the time you've been preparing for the past month? Haven't fought yet, it's frustrating, I don't know, just thinking about fighting has made my mind go blank so I can't do it anyway. Min-chae was angered by this tone. You idiot, let me take care of following my instructions. In the blink of an eye, it was time for the exam, so the students all went back to the classroom to prepare for the test. Let's put all your books away and then you guys at the top of the table pass the exam papers down to you behind. It is absolutely forbidden to prescribe the rules of the whole class examination clearly. If caught, immediately do not mark the conduct immediately there. At this point, after receiving the paper for a few minutes, Min-chae was writing something on a small piece of paper. She wrote with a dangerous smile. After writing, Min-chae slowly folded the paper. Then the daughter aimed straight at Byoem, who was sitting at the next row of tables. When no one noticed, Min-chae threw the folded paper straight to the other man's desk. The Sangbom thug was still fantasizing about his upcoming study abroad trip without noticing that someone threw him paper. Seeing the paper, he turned and coincidentally met Chae-hyo's eyes, so he thought that the paper was thrown by Chae-hyo. Oh, Chae-hyo did it fast, just timed it for 5 minutes, haha. As for Kim Chae-hyo, he was confused as to why the other guy kept staring at him like that. He hadn't written the answer yet. Excited to receive the answer, Sangbom immediately opened the paper. But as soon as he read the inscription on it, his eyes narrowed in amazement and extreme anger. On the paper were written "Some good idiots, let's fight." Immediately Sangbom turned to look at Chae-hyo with his eyes about to bulge and he was trying to control his extreme anger. Min-chae saw this sitting in the back whispering a smile of satisfaction. Come to the number, son. Time goes back a month to when Min-chae began training Chae-hyo in preparation to crush the other guy, at which point Chae-hyo carried Min-chae on his back and walked up the stairs while groaning. Min-chae really does this help the game, so carrying you like that makes me tired to death. Since that guy was so noisy, Min-chae immediately gave him a cup on his head. Enough is enough, you idiot, you can't believe me, hurry up. I know it, but, oh my gosh, the more you piggyback, the more you do. Hey, let's go there. After a moment of Chae-hyo's strength being drained against his hands on the ground with every drop of sweat dripping from him, Lee Min-chae. This also helped the match. It turned out that he was having to prop up his arms and legs as a seat for Min-chae. No, this doesn't help the game, you're my chair, so you carried me earlier and forgot to bring my slippers with you. The harsh truth startled you. What did you say? Min-chae saw that he kept spurring and immediately kicked for a few shots. Why keep stirring his ass so fucking? Don't say you're taking advantage of the opportunity to fuck me, bastard. What to say? I'm just tired. After a tiring journey, Kim Chae-hyo's whole body seemed to be crushed and glued once, so tired that the two of them decided to visit the eatery. Hey, eat a lot because you'll be the one paying. Chae-hyo sullenly agrees okay. Lee Min-chae saw that he was obedient and was pleased to instruct. The strength comes from the weight of the body, eat it by 10 kilograms. How can I gain 10 kilograms in a month? Why can't you just eat a lot? A eats at the same table as the annoyed nerd. I have to explain every time I get thrown backwards. Seeing Min-chae's voice start to get cold, Chae-hyo waved his hand in panic, nodded and I will eat right away. What, don't you eat? Oh my god, it's so spicy. After Min-chae finished eating, Chae-hyo sat at the table bewildered because that little one had already eaten. Burp, oh my god, it's so full. After eating, Chae-shi continued his journey carrying his lame son on his shoulders, but it was one thing for Min-chae to gate him for practice. You're still going to teach me fighting technique, aren't you? Chae-hyo asked, thinking to himself that he wasn't just using me to tell him. Slowly, I have an order that is going to be delivered to A, and then that order, you bring it into the house to change clothes and bring that to the rooftop for me. Chae-hyo had no choice but to follow Min-chae's instructions, and when he opened the packages, it was a series of professional punching training equipment. What is this? Min-chae, standing next to him, seeing him so surprised, explained that it was a training prop. I asked a friend from my hometown to send it up there. All the gym scavengers, don't stand there complaining anymore, but hurry up and take care of training. Do you remember the big-breasted friend I told him to send it up? Chae-hyo heard this, remembering that night when Min-chae had used her big-breasted friend as bait so that Chae-hyo Australia could teach her to get into college. Like someone like me with big tits, is it true? Having a girl like that likes a nerd sounds weird. No, not to come to his senses is not the time to rest like that. Min-chae saw him standing there shaking his head and then angrily shouted back, thinking, shit, not dull pervert. Let's start from the basics. Here's one. Min-chae started teaching this kid in earnest. As for this movement, the girl's attack looked gentle but emitted tremendous power that carried strong winds. When he saw this blow with his own eyes, Kim Chae-hyo gasped in amazement. Oh my god, his fist was so cool that the wind blew his hair away. Remember that the basic movement starts from 1 or 2 with only these 2 attacks, but you must be proficient and understand how to exert force to inflict damage. And add this low kick, so be sure to pay close attention to my leg movements. First, you will learn how to combine 1 and 2 blows and low kicks to understand smoothly. The first exercise is that you have to do this non-stop for 2 weeks. If you don't like it, I won't teach it anymore. Seeing Min-chae's serious expression as a real trainer made Chae-hyo shudder and nod. I'll do it and finally start my studies. Starting to train hard. At first, when he was a toddler, Chae-hyo only threw weak punches with soft arms like noodle stalks, causing Min-chae a huge headache. Therefore, she had to constantly model editing instructions so that Chae-hyo could follow and understand the secret of how to strike. Chae-hyo also really wanted to learn and wanted to change so that he would no longer be bullied, so he seriously followed Min-chae's instructions. After hitting the sticker, but because there was no strong force, Chae-hyo had to hold 2 dumbbells in his hands and strike. At first, because the 2 dumbbells were quite heavy, each punch was swung out, making the boy's whole arm numb and trembling, but still having to bite his teeth to endure. His whole face was contorted and he looked very uncomfortable, but he couldn't give up. Just like that, Chae-hyo Australia kept swinging punches from the afternoon until late at night. Early tomorrow morning still starts with those punches like a hard-working honeybee. From morning until night, even without Min-chae watching beside him, Kim practiced on his own. Time goes on and on. Every day is so regular, so there will definitely be some improvement. Today in the sunshine on the terrace constantly sounded every thud. At this point, Chae-hyo threw 2 dumbbells on the ground and began to try punching with his hands when not holding the dumbbells. The training results weren't bad at all, as the punches were thrown with a wind tear and actually carried the force rather than the cat-scratching punches. Seeing this kid finally come up with a punishment that could do damage, Min-chae nodded in relief. It was better now. So now let's practice kicking my legs and aim straight at my hand and kick this. Under the hard work of the 2 of them, the upper body kept sounding bang bang with powerful kicks. In the blink of an eye, 2 weeks have passed. Chae-hyo's temperament had changed completely differently from the nerd before. His gaze was more steady, more soulful, and his posture was much more professional. The attacks are swung fiercely and extremely quickly. Even the kicks are very powerful, emitting loud bumps when colliding with the protective plate. After a bit of practice, Min-chae finally complimented, "You have made some progress. I was going to give up because you didn't make any progress. Stupid, thank you for complimenting me. Okay, if the punching and kicking moves just now are familiar, then I'll teach you the next move, which is quite important, knocking technique." Falling is a technique in Italian football. Chae-hyo wondered, isn't it a lot of comics lately that you haven't read? I don't read comics. Min-chae had to explain it thoroughly. The nod technique was a technique used to knock an opponent down in a match. Rookies like him who only fought basic punches could hardly win, so he needed to use this technique. So now let's try wrestling me. Chae-hyo was startled by this suggestion, wrestling him down. Yes, use the technique I just said, do you understand? Immediately Chae-hyo rushed up and secretly thought that he was a boy after all, so he only needed to use all his strength to defeat him. But life wasn't like a dream when Chae-hyo rushed straight towards Min-chae with all her might. The girl was still standing like an electric pole, so she didn't move at all, like a pillar. What are you doing, Chae-hyo Australia? Chae-hyo kept trying to push Min-chae so hard that his whole face was pressed against the girl's body, but there was something strange. Instantly, a blow to the pillow hit Kim Chae-hyo's face, sending out a resounding bang. It doesn't hurt. If you nod unsuccessfully, the consequences will turn out like that, remember. This time it was my turn to try a counterattack. Ly Min-che pointed at himself as he prepared to storm. Are you ready? Now I'm going to storm. Remember, Sangbom is much bigger and stronger than you, so if it's just a normal move, you won't be able to defeat him. I'll teach you the special nodding technique, haha, Ly Min-che said with a smirk on her face. Just then there was the sound of fists crushing into the flesh along with Che-hyo's mournful singing. It seemed that today's training match was not very good, haha. And so for the next 2 weeks Che was subjected to even harsher training by Min-che, such as rolling with Min-che sitting on his back to train his hand endurance. Or carry Ly Min-che running stairs to train the speed and strength of the legs. Or little Ly Min-che princess style and grope to exercise strength for the whole body. Then more punching and kicking sessions with Ly Min-che. Practice the knockdown technique with some other techniques that are important for the match. Then in the last days of the actual fight with Ly Min-che and, of course, Che-hyo Australia 8 more punches. However, towards the end of time, Che-hyo Australia's progress became more apparent as he was able to resist with his powerful punches. The kicks are launched skillfully and decisively. The damage is also getting bigger and bigger with the correct attack technique. Even in a few moments, Che-chen's punches were able to make Ly Min-che's hands flush numbly. During that month, the two were busy, they worked extremely hard and whenever they had free time, they punched and kicked each other on the rooftop. Of course, Che-hyo Australia also tutored Min-che whenever possible and it seemed that this teaching was much lighter than martial arts training. Just like that, a month had passed until the day Che-hyo Australia was reluctantly dragged into a showdown with the thug Sangbom. Hey nerd, are you ready? Every drop of sweat rolling down his face showed that he was still very nervous. Min-che felt so angry. Don't hesitate like that, you idiot. But what did he write on that paper that made Sangbom so irritated? Notice what to do, nerd, now is the time to think about it. Pay attention to every fight. Che-hyo Australia's whole body trembled but nodded. I know. Now you just have to shut up and fight, remember to win, nerd. Then the two of them went to the appointed place to fight Sangbom. At this time there were quite a few people gathered around to watch this strange match. The cold thug with a cigarette in his lips glanced at the figure of the approaching nerd, while everyone couldn't help but whisper. In everyone's gossip, Kim tried to clench her teeth and tried to control her fear, stepping forward step by step. Okay, let's go. On the eve of the match, it appeared that Kim Che-hyo Australia and Ly Min-che had a conversation. The girl calmly smoked a cigarette and the guy next to her sat shivering like a civet with sweat filling her head. Min-che saw this and called out, "Are you afraid if you want to smoke a cigarette? Come on, I don't smoke." 2. As expected from guys like you, Ha is afraid of fighting to the point of trembling. Che-hyo immediately countered that this set of tremblings is wrong. This is the first time I have fought. And the first time I fought someone as strong and brutal as that guy, of course I had to shake my whole body. Ly Min-che heard this and sighed, and after all, it was just a book to take off his shirt. Why did he take his shirt off? Here I take off right here without punching, but, under the violent coercion of Min-che cover high, I took off my shirt. And now stand and put your strength into your belly, put your strength into your stomach. Following the instructions of the evil trainer, Kim Che-hyo tried to use her strength on her stomach to flex her muscles to reveal that her body was also quite toned. Look at how much her body has improved. Behold, you think I trained you to waste. If you lose, you're an idiot. Just have a little spirit and you must not be afraid to win. You have to be confident, nerd. You know the other guy is very strong, so don't be scared by him. If you are scared, you can't fight anything. At Ly Min-che's honest instruction, Kim Che-hyo nodded. I know. But when did you stop calling me a nerd? Well, nothing, but a little. Ly Min-che heard this and got angry. Dull, you are trying to change the subject. You should be thankful that I still speak kindly to you. If you don't like me calling you nerds, win. If you win, I'll call you a nerd, remember. Kim Che-hyo nodded bewilderedly, yes. Saying that, Ly Min-che suddenly handed out a blue lighter to Kim Che-hyo. He took this. Oh, this isn't a lighter, why give me this? This one has an advantage for the game to take away. Che-hyo took the lighter from Ming-tre's hand and said that he would return it to her when he won. No need, I don't want to use the nerd stuff again, remember to buy a new one. The lighter in Kim Che-hyo's hand curiously began to ask, where did you get this? Dumb, I have to explain everything to you, is it crazy? And all the months and days of training have finally come to Kim Chibo's battle with Sangbom thugs. His hand gripped the lighter Min-che had given him last night. I'm shaking. Can bullies be shaking like this while fighting? Even though her heart was beating fiercely and she was alarmed, Kim tried to look straight ahead. He remembered Min-che's words last night. He only lost when he didn't believe he could win confidently, nerds. Ly Min-che said he could win, so let's try. Che-shiche's hands clenched in determination. It's okay to move forward, but if you lose, it's okay to keep being a nerd. Taking a deep breath, she took off her glasses and slowly walked towards her opponent. The two began to stand across from each other and the crowd around them couldn't stop laughing and gossiping. The thug poured gas while smoking a cigarette while looking at the nerd in front of him and smiled. This guy smiled and pretended you were going to fight me. You really studied too much, so your mind short-circuited. Chae-hyo immediately protested loudly. His head always had to fight before fighting. Hearing Chae-hyo Australia's two words, Sangbom couldn't help but laugh. Ha ha ha, you really heard him answer me, ha ha. Ha ha. Chae-hyo Australia is suddenly so stiff. Where do you get this bravery? Chae-hyo Australia is still very resilient and calmly trying to stand there, but in fact he is trembling to death. Hey, we're still coming back, aren't we going back as proof of this Chae-hyo Australia's ambition? Haha. To everyone's extreme laughter, Lyman Chae stood still and silently cheered. Come on, the nerd loses, you spend that life. Let's wait and see if I'm going to have a game with you as you want, Sang said as he tossed his cigarette aside. That guy's accomplices around cheered excitedly. Sangbom is so cool, come on and beat him to death. What are you guys excited about? Do you like me to smash a bug so much? So let's take a look at it, ha. Said, raising his fist to look at Chae-hyo Australia and asking, hey, you want to get spanked here? Tell me, I'll do what you want, haha. Hearing this, Kim Chae-hyo immediately remembered Min Chae's advice last night, that the basic fight should be based on the temperament first. If you are scared by the opponent's temperament and lose momentum, it is absolutely impossible to win, so even if you tremble, do not show it. Of course, even when he faced Sangbom, Chae-hyo's body was still shaking with every stroke, but he clenched his teeth trying to restrain himself. Sangbom, you say it first. You want me to hit these bombs? I'm going to hit 100 times more than you want the dog, Kim Chae-hyo said coldly as he punched defensively. Seeing this look of Sangbom, he couldn't help but laugh. The onlookers around also laughed loudly. Haha, provocative is so boring. Chae-hyo Australia, when have you become ridiculous? Haha, what have you eaten? What is that posture? You learn from somewhere, must be hidden for a match to come to your senses. Sangbom gave a teasing smile and threw a heavenly punch aimed directly at Chae-hyo's face. Let's get started, don't worry about his punch coming. As Lee Min-chae taught, it starts with a one strike, followed by another strike at the same time. First of all, Chae-hyo's punch was promptly swung out, but because his arms were too short, he could not reach the other man's body, but instead he punched him in the face. This sheet is so strong that it sprays blood on my nose. Oh my god, my hands are too short to close. How's that fighting? Have you woken up, idiot? Followed by repeated punches from Sangbom that stunned Chae-hyo Australia. You know what civility is, why would you have the guts to fight with me? Answer, stop punching, and then that guy gets on the pillow again to give Chae-hyo Australia a blow to the stomach. Chae-hyo being beaten up in bewilderment doesn't have time to react is always a little wrong. Sangbom gave him a savage smile and looked at the nerd in front of him. How do you know what yet, ML? Said as he grabbed his head and a wreck from below closed straight up. Just like that, Chae-hyo Australia became a sandbag for Sangbom to practice punching. Everyone around started cheering and getting bored because the match would end quickly. Oh my god, the nerd wasn't that interesting and asked for a fight. At this moment, Chae-hyo trembled slightly, put his hand to the pouting of his mouth and interrupted each sentence, stopping to stop. Stop stopping, please. Enough, Sangbom. Eager, I apologize, Chae-hyo cried as he said sorry, hoping the other guy could stop. Everyone was poked by this sight to laugh. Haha, he was beaten to cry, and behold the laughter. I can't do it, I'm too scared, Chae-hyo thought to himself and kept saying sorry. Sangbom saw this and immediately let go. Okay, if you want to, stop. You think I'll say that? Blinking, then he threw a hard kick towards Chae-hyo Australia, causing Chae-hyo Australia to fly backwards. It's fun like this. How can you stop this fuzzy guy? Haha, beat you until you get out of your pants. I can't do anything, Chae-hyo thought to herself with 2 rows of tears in her eyes and tried to raise her hands weakly to fend off the constant attacks from her opponent. I can't do anything. I can do with Lyman Chae so hard. Tried very hard in practice and was able to deliver effective attacks. The results of practice are also not in vain. But even after all that practice, Kim Chae-hyo was still so scared that he couldn't do anything. Now he could only cry, holding his head and letting the other guy punch him. Lyman had asked him last night if he knew what was most important about fighting. It was that aura he couldn't lose. Yes, if your mental strength is weak, you will lose the battle, even if your strength is more than it. Why not? Because when your psyche is weak, you don't dare to strike and be scared. But how can I be mentally weak now? Seeing Chae-hyo holding my head and worrying Min Chae is also helpless. This nerd is really useless. Hey, do you adjust your psychology to listen clearly? If your mind is confused, it will definitely be hidden. I'll show you how to get out of that situation if you can't resist. Here's a good look at how my hands do. If that happens, first press against him like this. Because Min Che guided and pressed so closely, Che-hyo's whole body tensed up awkwardly. Then there's the use of a teak technique that breaks the enemy's center of gravity and falls on them, but you probably can't do it directly, so I'll show you another way. Back to reality when Che-hyo Australia kept receiving punches from the thug. Kim Che-hyo's whole face contorted with an angry look. Okay, let's try today. Even if you die, you have to try it once. First pressing close to his opponent, he immediately rushed up and hugged the thug who was beating him. Sangbom was made to laugh by this situation, wondering what you were doing. According to Lee Min-che's instructions, then a surprise attack was required. Into his opponent's hands violently, along with his train of thought, Che-hyo bit down hard on Sangbom's ear, causing his ears to bleed out and he screamed in pain. The sudden pain was like an ear about to be severed, causing the thug to scream in horror. Although it is against the law, it is not an official competition, so it is okay to use it. You must win by all means, nerds. Then, as soon as it hurt, he had to dodge to the side. Hey Sangbom holding his bloody ears close to every angry word, fucking fuck you fucking. And then let's continue as we have practiced. Thinking of that, he had to seize the opportunity to immediately rush forward with extremely fast speed. Starting with moves 1 or 2, the young men gradually regained their spirit, punching Sangbom's face hard. This time because the thug didn't have time to react, he received the full punch. Punching so hard that the bewildered thug sprayed his nose with blood. The people around him were amazed that the thug Sangbom had been hit by that nerd. Kim Che-hyo screamed angrily, now let's really start fighting bastard. Sangbom's nose blood was constantly pouring out and it seemed like it had been a long time since he had been injured, so he was still pouting his mouth in bewilderment. He looked towards the nerd in front of him and shouted, you dare to hit me? Hearing this, Che-hyo secretly thought that you were dreaming, a crazy guy. While the opponent was distracted, you had to use that technique. It was a knockdown technique, he couldn't win with just a few normal punches, so he had to use a blocking technique. Remembering that Sangbom was much bigger and stronger than him, it wouldn't work if he just used a normal whipping technique. At that time, Lee Min-che smiled and said that she would teach him the technique that could take him down. This technique does not seem to be very well documented, but it is very well used. That is, hit the danger spot. The first time Kim Che-hyo was dragged out as a hitting practice model, he was hit in the dangerous spot that made him writhe in extreme. His whole face was self-inflicted with pain and destitution disfigured, combined with the technique of knocking down and hitting the opponent's danger spot with the shoulder. Anyway, the whole person is always right, that misery will make it impossible for your opponent to fight anymore. Kim Che-hyo lay on the floor shaking her body and answered, not only that spot, but the whole body hurts. That's right, it's a fall, so it hurts. The opponent won't know where I'm going to be hit. It's a technique I use to fight thug boys. Chechen tried to raise his head and sit up and ask if it was a bit cowardly to do this. Lee Min-che let out a sigh and scolded this nerd who wasn't awake. Hey, what are you going to do? It's time to think about cowardice or not. Let's focus on winning. In Kudo martial arts, if there is a difference in weight, attacking the opponent's weakness is not counted as a law. You have to do that to defeat the opponent. Remember clearly. It's not that you're a coward, it's that Sangbom. He's much stronger and bigger than you. And yet it keeps bullying you. Who do you think is the coward here? Remembering what he had trained, when Sangbom was distracted, he had to seize the opportunity immediately. Che-hyo's eyes narrowed to stare at his opponent's subordinates. He had to immediately hit the danger spot, thinking so he immediately rushed up and gave a hard nudge at the thug's boy. The pain piercing the blue sky made Sangbom's mind feel like a firefly had fainted. But Che-hyo didn't stop, but hugged the thug's body, pushing it hard towards the wall behind him, emitting a tremendous echo. This blow was another powerful blow that made the Sangbom stunned with blood in his nose. Everyone watching outside gasped in amazement. Oh my god, his head was quite strong. Have we cracked yet? Have we ever broken our heads? The constant attacks made this thug dizzy in his eyes. In front of him was now the nerd's body with constant punches that made it impossible for Sangbom to see clearly. The situation was completely reversed when Sangbom became a sandbag of punching exercises for Che-hyo Australia. The more he punched and kicked, the more he regained his courage and composure, even loudly scolding. What kind of mother are you to bully me? Why bully me, bastard? After all, who would dare bully me? And if it wasn't for you, it wouldn't be that way. If it wasn't for you, I would have gone to school as normally as everyone else. Why would you have appeared in my life, you asshole? So angry that you made Che-hyo scream and couldn't control his punches. Everyone was startled by this sight. What is it that the bomb is being beaten to death? No joke. Just as everyone was amazed that Lee Min-che was starting to worry again, this nerd calmed down a bit, but it wasn't over. Just as Lyman Che predicted, it wasn't over when the thug Sangbom threw a kick aimed directly at Che Hai Australia's chest, kicked away from Kim Che Hyo holding her stomach in pain. Now that it was Sangbom's turn to protest, he immediately rushed forward and clamped down on Che Hyo's neck with his hand. Sangbom's face was now all punched to the point of bloody disfigurement, but its strength was still very fierce. "This fuzzy nerd, where did you learn that kind of martial arts that you learned from your friends?" "My dog also learned some of his friends' moves. This is called the killer strangulation in martial arts." Sangbom's muscular arm is constantly clenching, making nerds choke. "In the room for 7 seconds. If you don't escape, you will faint. When you pass out here, I will strip you out here, haha. You go for me, this bastard." The thug's arm is like a pincer that makes Che Hai Australia suffocate and extremely painful. Fainting after 7 seconds. No, the boy tried to struggle, punching his hand hard, but it didn't seem to be very effective. It had been 3 seconds and there was no other way, and the pain and suffocation from lack of oxygen caused Che Hai Australia's physiological tears to come out. At that moment of danger, he suddenly remembered the lighter he still clutched in his hand. That's right, it's the key to salvation. Then Kim Che Hyo pressed the lighter against the flames against the thug's arm that was gripping his neck. Although the flame of the lighter is very small, it is certainly enough to cause heat and burns when it comes into contact with the flesh. The sudden burning pain that startled Sangbom. He hurriedly let go of his hand and screamed in pain, too hot, so lethargic. Taking that opportunity, Kim Che Hai Australia promptly broke free and seized the opportunity to attack again. There is no end of focus. To make the opponent right, he must use a low kick aimed directly at his feet. If you want to defeat the opponent, making him unable to fight anymore, you must aim right at the chin. The chin will be a very obvious weakness on each person's face, which is what Lyman Che has carefully instructed Kim Che Hai Australia. If he used his full body weight and punched his opponent's chin, no matter how big he was, he would faint. Whether it was Sangbom or whoever, it was clear. At that moment, Kim Che Hyo gritted her teeth and closed her eyes straight at the Sangbom's chin. His chin was clearly visible in front of his eyes because he was still burned and hadn't had time to react. A full-force punch was thrown. This punch was so powerful that it made a soaring wind-tearing sound that frightened people. Of course, this blow hit the other guy's chin, causing his face to distort. Receiving this punch caused Sangbom's body to begin to stagger unsteadily. Just then he fell to the ground fainting. The sight silenced the surrounding scene as everyone gasped in disbelief. There was no concealment of surprise on the faces of everyone around her, only the Lyman Che girl managed to remain calm. Even the litigant, Kim Che Hai Australia, gasped for breath from being so tired with bewildered eyes. It took a long time for Kim to realize she had won when she saw the thug bullying her lying on the ground unable to move. It was only at this moment that everyone could react and regain their spirits and let out a huge exclaim. The whole crowd was in a strange uproar that the nerd had already won. "Oh my god, what happened? The nerd won the game." While everyone was talking, Lyman Che kind of let out a breath, although a little hard, but won anyway. "Nerd. Haha, won, of course. Who taught him?" the little girl thought to herself and turned to leave. Everyone was still amazed by the outcome of the match, so no one paid attention to Lyman Che. At this time, Kim Che Hyo stood there bewildered but also remembered the girl's instruction that after the match she should run away immediately. Since he could be attacked by his accomplices, when everyone had time to react to him, he fled for his life. "Shouldn't we catch that guy, stop him and wake him up?" Luckily, no one gave chase, so Kim successfully fled. He ran at full speed and smiled with happy tears of joy. Win and I did it. The day I beat that Sangbom, the news spread in an instant and the whole school knew. I thought I could end the months of suffering, but it wasn't that simple. I'm about to face an even bigger challenge. When some other bearheads in the school heard that Sangbom had been killed. "What? If that's the case, I beat the nerd, which means I also beat Sangbom. Okay, this victory seems to be the word." The person just said his name is 17-year-old Hongdabong, weighing 110 kilograms, from Busan. Today was a beautiful day at the 3rd grade school where Kim Che Hai Australia attended. After that battle, Sangbom, who had been out of school for 3 days, finally appeared in everyone's buzz. Kim Che Hyo was also very worried for fear that he would come to take revenge immediately. But suddenly nothing happened, everything was strangely calm. The Sangbom didn't even bother to glance at Che Hai Australia, he mused as if nothing had happened. But whatever the reason, Che Hyo was glad he didn't do anything. Just as Kim Che Hyo was just breathing heavily, the leg behind his back was sniffing into his ass. Turning around to find Kim Min Che looking at him with a smile. Then the little one threw a familiar note on it. And exactly 10 times like a piece of paper that always sticks exactly right to the face. The paper with the words "Hey nerd, go buy me bread." "What? I'm your name or whatever you told me to buy." what should I go? Chae-hyo thought to herself as she gritted her teeth and turned her head to look back. But Kim Min-chae is staring at the bridge like a ghost with a cold commanding tone to buy it. Hurry up, I'm starving to death, nerd. There's no other way but to stand up helplessly, almost forgetting that Lee Min-chae is a bully too. Then he had to make his way through the noisy corridors to reach the cafeteria, walking while comforting himself. Even so, I still owe it to Lee Min-chae for nothing. It's better than running errands for Sangbom. How happy was the absolute peace, indeed, and as he was bouncing happily for this peace, a voice as loud as a frog interrupted. It's you, aren't you the guy who defeated Sangbom? Suddenly blocking Chae-Australia's path right now is a guy with a fierce face that looks like a Dombai with his juniors. Their appearance startled all their souls, heaven forbid they were Sangbom's accomplices. He lost to that nerd. Well, Sangbom was just that, haha. How lucky they were to just ask one question and leave together, leaving Chae-Australia shivering and relieved. Guess they weren't friends. Hey, you're the bastard who defeated Sangbom. The others just left and another bunch appeared with the leader with the mushroom head. Oh my god, who is this guy? Chae-hyo shivered slightly, his small body being looked at by the mushroom-headed guy around as if watching a rare beast. But he watched it and left without forgetting to turn around and tease. It looks like you're just lucky, ha, Sangbom, that idiot, haha. And it was just like that. In just one way to the canteen, Chae-Australia met 3 or 4 groups of thugs who came to him to verify if he had defeated Sangbom. Even the group that bullied the leader, who was a beautiful girl, laughed and even took pictures with great interest. After all the difficulties, Chae-Australia also reached the cafeteria to buy cakes to take back to class. But as soon as he walked out of the cafeteria door, he was blocked again, asking if he was Kim Chae-Australia. Hello, we're outsiders from other classes, or, in other words, nerds. Chae-hyo looked startled at the little boys walking in front of him. We've heard rumors that you're also a nerd who beat up a bully. Haha, hearing that filled us with pride. I couldn't even sleep anymore, buddy. Beating a bully is like a hero in a movie. Our hero is a nerd hero. The excitement of these guys makes Chae-Australia go crazy. And what are you talking about? Damn the nerds we were meeting with or whatever. At this moment a thug passing by saw them gathered and loudly waved them away, causing the nerds to quickly dodge to the side. Seeing them tremble like a rat, seeing cats like that made Chae-hi couldn't help but sigh. Oh my god, what a pathetic thing. Now that thug is away from the nerd who said quietly to Chae-Australia, after all, we outsiders are all supportive of you, so come on. By the way, I heard something strange that I overheard on the toilet. Someone had a conversation in the restroom that the nerd had beaten Sangbom, so he wanted to take down the nerd too, because if he beat the nerd, it would mean defeating Sangbom. I heard someone say that it sounded like he wanted to increase his reputation for establishing dominance. The guy kept telling stories and Sangbom gasped in bewilderment. Anyway, stay safe, comrade, we go. Why am I your comrade? Oh my god. And is this really true? Chae-Australia now feels that everything is a myth and it seems that it has not ended. But he felt so insecure anyway. Hey Lee Min-chae. Chae-hi's hands were propped up against the floor with beads of sweat dripping onto the floor. Hey, you really need to sit on my back to eat, or what, because I'm puffing. Seeing him keep screaming, Lee Min-chae winced and cursed. Damn, that nerd doesn't have a chair on the rooftop. Do you want me to sit on the ground? Also, this is an exercise that should be done, and stop whining. Because her weight made Chae-Australia's whole body tremble, his voice trembled as well. This Lee Min-chae, I heard a child from another class say. They said there were some bullies who wanted to take me down. Why doesn't Lee Min-chae care? Oh my god, you're so heartless. I'm your student. What do I do now? That idiot who always challenges the winners, that, if you can't handle it, you want to go back to the days of being beaten. Hearing this, Chae-hyo immediately cried in panic. Oh no, is life still not peaceful after winning? It's unbelievable, Chae-hyo said as he let go of his hands and made his face hit the ground. Damn, because I finished my exam yesterday, so I guess I don't need to study today, right? I'm going outside. Lee Min-chae got up and was about to leave. What are you talking about? Given your skill level, if you still want to go to a university in Seoul, taking a day off is not the right choice. I'm also going to tutor you today, so you're going to be the owner of the estate. Chae-chan's words made Lee Min-chae, who was about to leave, stand back. Damn, why do I have to study, gosh. But anyway, for the sake of being a real estate house, Lee Min-chae finally gave in to fate. Lee Min-chae, before starting the lesson, give me more of your midterm grades. Why do you need midterm grades anymore? What else can you do to add your abilities? Oh my god, you mind this corpse? Min-chae rummaged through his backpack while gritting his teeth and grumbling. I didn't expect much from your first test, but whatever. After receiving the transcript, I couldn't help but sing. What kind of score? Are you kidding me? Hey Lee Min-chae, you took the same test as me. How the hell did you get a score like this? the fault is with a teacher like you that you should have taught me better. Why are you angry with me? You're the problem because you're a teacher, Min-chae said as he gritted his teeth menacingly. I helped you win that game, so you're responsible for my score. Calm down, I'm grateful to you for helping me win the battle, but no matter how good I teach, there's no result if you don't put in a lot of effort. Min-chae's voice became frighteningly cold again. What are you telling me not to put in enough effort? Of course you need to study harder because you've lost your roots, even if that means you have to lose sleep. There's no way I can reduce my sleep hours. You want me to die? I need to sleep 10 hours a day. While the two were arguing, Chae-hye Australia's mother opened the door and walked in and said with a smile, I brought you apples. Immediately Min-chae changed her expression to become a lovely shy girl. Hello miss, you even peeled apples for us, thank you very much. Next time I'll see you beautifully, thank you very much. Oh my gosh, haha, you're so soft-mouthed, lovely girl. Chae-hye looked at this monstrous scene in horror and he would never forget what was going on. So you two study hard, go get some rest. Chae-hye mused as he heard the door closing silently. And hey, can you really peel apples? After the mother had gone to Ly, Min-chae had turned back to her true self with her feet propped up on the table. There was no way I could peel it. Let's stop studying, let's go back to basics first, let's go back to basics first. Although the journey ahead was arduous because Ly Min-chae had lost a lot of roots, it had to be taught to her anyway. Chae-hye Australia lectured with great devotion and enthusiasm. Although Ly Min-chae listened diligently, she still didn't understand her son. Why don't you understand that? It's very simple to explain. You idiot, you have to preach more carefully, so how can I understand? The two of them were in such a state of lecture and arguing until hours after it was late at night. Okay, today's lesson is over. Oh mom, it's finally over and hey nerds, come here a little bit. Chae-hye was bewildered and dragged out of the house by Ly Min-chae in the middle of the night. Hey Ly Min-chae, why do you have to drag me with you when you go out to smoke? Ly Min-chae sat in a corner with a cigarette on his lips and replied calmly, to watch out for that idiot. I saw a thief around here last time. And hey Ly Min-chae, didn't you say that if I won the match, you wouldn't call me a challenger anymore, but call me by my first name? When did I say that? Chae-hye was startled to counter that he had said. At the same spot you said that if I won you would call me by name. Forced to fulfill his promise, Ly Min-chae gritted his teeth and stared, causing Chae-hye Australia to panic, too. Okay, I'll call you by name, congratulations on winning the match. Kim Chae-hye rolled her eyes in bewilderment at this beautiful figure of the girl. But what do you say? Who is Kim Ta-dang? My name is Kim Chae-hye Australia and you still don't know my name. So what? You changed my name, just read it, sounds good. Oh my god, it was unbelievable how he could say anything, keeping a decent eye on the nerd. A new school day begins again with the bell signaling the entrance of class. Everyone in classes 1 and 3 began to return to their seats with chatter. Chae-hye Australia walked in the door thinking about how to improve her Ly Min-chae score. But now when he looked towards his seat, he showed a face that didn't understand anything. It turned out that some fucking fat guy was sitting right where he was and one of his hands was tucked into his pants, scratching roughly, looking very rough. Chae-hye gently approached and asked in a low voice, "Boy, that's my place." The fat guy put his hand inside his broken pants and put his hand over his nose and sniffed in disgust when he saw the person coming and said, "Dude, it's nice to see you." He placed one of his stocking hands on Chae-hye Australia's head as he said, "You look like shit and if I beat you, that means I beat Sangbom, right? I mean, let's just fight." His disgustingly fat face pressed against him, startling Chae-hye Australia. Kim Min-chae, who was dialing the phone, was also attracted by this story, raising her head to look. "Why would I do that? But I have no reason to fight you." As soon as Kim Chae-hye opened his mouth to refuse, one of its giant ear tarps slapped his cheek, making his face deflect to one side. Maybe make up the reason that the kid is such a worthless shit, haha. Before he could react, the fat guy picked up the snails with his hands like a gentle toy. Then with a roar, he threw straight into the pile of tables and chairs in the distance, making a loud sound. An entire row of tables and chairs was swept across by Chae-hye's body, and it was definitely extremely painful. Kim Chae-hye's whole body now seemed to shatter because the impact was so strong, but it seemed to be okay. "Why, dude, get tighter, now you want to fight?" Facing a huge body bigger than that Sao, Chae-hye only felt trembling, not daring to have a single thought of protesting. How could I fight someone like him? I can't fight him by too big a margin. Seeing that Chae-hye did not dare to face his eyes, the thug laughed loudly. "Gosh, you are such a coward. Okay, I understand, because I defeated you, you defeated Sangbom. It's like I've won both games. It's great to win easily, you. See you later, haha." And then that fat guy walked away, leaving me still sitting bewildered on the ground. Despite being bruised now, Kim tried to think optimistically in the hope that the guy wouldn't bully him again, maybe it would be better if it ended like this. Lee Min-che saw this look of him when the girl thought something and seemed pensive. And it's unfortunate that things weren't as optimistic as Chae-hyo had hoped for, because the very next day the fat thug came to him again. Out of which way? My henchman came here to get out of my way, haha. That fat guy was walking down the corridor carrying a strip of all his clothes around his neck like a piece of jewelry. Chae-hyo's whole face flushed with clenched teeth. Horrible, he never said I would be your henchman if I didn't hit you. Everyone who saw this monstrous scene was buzzing because that guy wasn't the one who had defeated Sangbom. He had been so good before, but now he's completely toyed with by that fat guy. But not only that, but that fat guy came up with even more bizarre bullying when he had just taken out somewhere a live spider. Hey, this spider looks at me funny when I'm holding an idiot, you can eat it, haha. Chae-hyo is terrified. Stop, I am really scared of the vermin. Hearing this, the fat guy slapped him in the face. Is it like I'm joking, bastard? Just do what you're told, groundhead. Do you know who I am? I dominate the whole Busan neighborhood, you dead dog. You think you'll get away with it if you don't listen to me? He scolded and slapped him in the face. Rest assured, this one didn't fly. We opened its mouth wide open. Under the restraint of the two juniors, the fat guy was able to stuff that Danyuan spider into her mouth. Ah, it went all the way down, haha. Man, how do you feel like Spider-Man now? In the laughter of the others, Kim Chae-hyo with tears in her eyes asked, why did you do this to me? The fat Hongda Bong heard this and stood up and put his hand in to scratch the bird, and asked why. Because it's funny, this idiot, haha. I actually wanted to control Sangbom, so I purposely followed you. But this way the reaction is so funny, haha, so I just keep teasing you. Failures like you don't have to have a reason to be bullied. You think that's the fate of a loser like you. So from now on you just have to be quiet as my little henchman, and remember to start coming to our class tomorrow for attendance. Haha. Haha, come on, do you see that I'm super strong? Yes, that's what you are, like a real man. They laughed and said as they left Chae-hyo alone, bewildered with rows of tears rolling down his eyes. After everything he'd gone through to defeat Sangbom, things were the same, only the bully had changed. Everything was the same as before, even worse than before. Unable to hold back the anguish in her heart, Kim Chae-hyo cried delicately. But somehow, the cowardice that dared not resist in him was already ingrained in his flesh and blood, especially in the face of such a giant. That evening was also the day that Chae-hyo taught Kim Min-che, but the atmosphere today seemed quieter than usual. Kim Chae-hyo stood bewildered beside the board while the other girl was still on the bed dialing the phone. So let's start the lesson, and your voice becomes slow, quiet, not as excited as other days. Kim Min-che clicked the phone while wiggling her legs and answered, wait a minute, I have to end the conversation with my friend. Kim Chae-hyo heard this, and mused without another word. His face was sullen, lifeless, and he sat down in the chair beside the board. The silence made the boy's thoughts begin to spread, that after the lecture won his first match, Chae-hyo Australia thought he was done with bullying. But then an even worse bully came along who said think it was the fate of a loser. Fate really had to accept that damn fate? And at that weight he was on a different level than Sangbom, and he couldn't even imagine he could beat that giant pig. With a sigh, Chae-hyo immediately spoke, Lee Min-che, I can't beat that pig, can I? Lee Min-che remained staring at his unanswered phone. You said that pig was the one who just bullied you? Of course you can't beat him, you idiot. Are you awake? Lee Min-che's direct words were like a knife stabbed straight into Chae-hyo's heart, causing him to break down. Yes, I think so too, hoo. Lee Min-che saw this and began to continue, don't be devastated, but not without another way. Hearing her say that there was a way, Chae-hyo immediately asked excitedly, why is there a way for me to defeat that pig? Yes, there is a way, but losers like you can do it. That's what that tells me, try it please. It's not something everybody can do, we're going to need some of that equipment, she said as she dialed the phone. Ring rings, the phone rings, are you on the phone? You remember my big boobs friend, I was calling her. The friend who liked the type of person like me with big boobs. Kim Chae-hyo just thought about it and shook his head not to get rid of it. Now is not the time to imagine. The phone waited for a while, and someone picked up the phone, so Lee Min-che spoke first, can you talk now? Hey, why are you so noisy? You're drinking, you're drunk. Chae-hyo heard the conversation and was startled, thinking to herself that the girl must be a bully too. It's so jealous, I want to go out for a drink too. So many hot guys there, really? Oh, I wish I could go with you. Lee Min-che, talking and constantly wagging my legs. You asked me why I called him, do you remember the loser I told you last time? This time I need something for that guy again. Yes, I'll text you what I need, thanks. Kim Chae-hyo Australia heard that and silently wondered what she might need to prepare herself. Well, wait a minute, should I give the phone to that loser for a moment? Kim Chae-hyo heard this and immediately waved his hand and whispered, no, I'm embarrassed, don't. Hey loser, you can't hold it, my friend is fuzzy about you should feel honored you idiot, you know she's super beautiful. It was all the way, so in the end, Chae-hyo still had to shiver awkwardly to take the phone. Please welcome to meet him. The other end of the line at this time sounded the laughter of a girl. Ha ha ha, I've heard a lot about you really are so weak. She said you dwarf wearing glasses is basically the image of the loser of the end always haha. But think I'm going to vomit. Hey sorry, don't vomit on your phone, you drink too much and then give me the phone. On the other side of the phone, there were constant sounds of vomit and noise and chaotic music that made Chae-hyo Australia extremely bewildered. What did she say? Lyman-chae asked curiously. Well, it's not much, but it's really chaotic. What exactly did Lyman-chae ask the country to send? Very soon, a few days passed, a huge package was sent to the home of the two of them. In this box is the key to his victory, open it. Hey, what's in the... After opening the box, I covered my eyes with a blanket to see what was inside. This was my way to win the star race. Time slipped by until 3 weeks after the day that Chae-hyo Australia challenged the fat Hongdabong. You bastard, you want to fight me, you're crazy, you're overconfident. What the is that, you idiot, he scolded as he stared at the guy in front of him. What the hell are you carrying, you idiot? It turned out that Chae-hyo was wearing a huge pair of gloves standing across from the fat guy. What were those big gloves, this guy? Everyone watching around was poked by this figure and laughed. What am I nearby, my friend haha look laughing. Hongdabong with a cigarette in his hand scolded disdainfully. You think this is a comedy show? Are you kidding me, haha. Kim Chae-hyo ignored everyone's laughter and just tried to raise his giant fist. He remembered Min-chae's words that these gloves were the key. This was the only way he could defeat that giant pig. It was 3 weeks ago when Kim looked bewildered at the 2 giant red gloves in the box that had just arrived at the house. Whatever, this super big glove is my way to beat him. That's right, he hurriedly tried it on, following Min-chae Kim Chae-hyo's firm request to try to put those gloves on even though it was heavy. After putting it on, you can't even pick it up for the first time. Isn't this a bit big? I can really win the match with these gloves. That sounds ridiculous. Lyman-chae immediately shouted angrily, you still don't believe me, nerd? Oh my god, having to talk to a nerd is annoying enough. Why do you keep hanging me back? Damn, I'm crazy. Shut up and start practicing. Lyman-chae pulled out a baseball bat and began his teaching journey, first blocking my bat with his gloves. What should I block baseball bats, you seriously? No matter how big these gloves are, I could die trying to block that. Argue with me again. You've seen how fat the pig is, haven't you? The power behind a punch from such a big person is almost hit with this stick, so you need to block the punch before you can move on to the next step. There was no other way but to shed tears, and he risked his life on these gloves. Okay, then come here. Min-chae said as he threw out his cane with a powerful blow to the giant gauntlet, causing Chae-shi to fly backwards into the distance, screaming in panic. Oh my god, the first blow was knocked out like a ball. Hey, use your strength on your legs and stand firmly on the ground. How are you going to win? You stay so weak. As soon as the punch comes down, putting all your strength on your legs and standing firmly on the ground. Looking at his unstoppable form, Min-chae sighed. No, you're too weak. It's time to practice the hellish version. Do some hellish exercises for your lower body. If you don't like it, you go down there too, you idiot. Looking at the teacher's scary appearance, even if she didn't want to, Chae-hyo still tried to nod her head and I would practice it. And with that, hell training officially began. He had to both grope and walk to school in everyone's direction. Had to study in class while sitting in the air, not touching buttocks and chairs. He even had to do it while eating so he could work on his hip and leg strength. Keep going, nerds, and like I said, don't talk to me at school. Even when he went to the bathroom, he had to train like that. And when Lyman-chae wanted to smoke, he became her carry-on chair. Hey, be honest and tell me you like the feel my ass brings, don't you? Lyman said as she turned to look back to reveal her hot body. Chae-hyo was startled by this look of hers. No, I don't know if my legs hurt so much. Because he was startled, he staggered, causing the two of them to fall onto the street. Fuck, you deliberately fell so that I lay on top of you, didn't you, pervert? And Chae-hyo Australia had to train like that until 2 weeks after stable Min-chae decided to continue training with a baseball bat. I'm here, be careful, the girl who just hit her with a baseball bat. Book a successful shot using the gauntlet to fend off that attack with legs flexed and stiff, trying to hold on. Oh, you're still standing, so let's go next. Then Lyman-chae continued to attack with the stick in an extremely violent way, causing the whole upper division to constantly sound a popping sound. But the results of training over the past 2 weeks have not been ineffective, as Chae-hyo Australia has safely mounted those attacks. Yes, you seem better now. If he could stop these punches, his chances of defeating that pig were up to 90%. Back to reality as the match between the two of them was about to take place. Are you ready to get your ass kicked? Bastard, is a fucking fight, you shit. You want to be tough, so just try to death. He didn't stop saying disdainful words and rushed to his fat body with that big punch. Che-hyo, through the gap between the two giant gloves, stopped his eyes to stare at the figure. It was here. With a loud thud, the fist was caught by the gauntlet. Although he managed to withstand this punch, the enormous power from that fat guy made Che-Australia's whole body stagger. He was as strong as Min-che's staff swing, not even stronger, but he still had to hold on. Since he had caught the giant punch of the fat guy, everyone around him was extremely surprised. Oh my god, he really didn't get it, the giant gloves in his clothes. Even the fat guy was stunned. What I thought he had fallen off now, but he was still standing here. While everyone was buzzing, Lymanch stood there and watched thoughtfully. Just do what we've done to be nerds. If you've held on, try to hold on and try to block all these blows and take out the fat guy shouted angrily as he swung his powerful punches back and forth at Che-Australia. Who would let you dare to challenge me? Let me see how long you last. Bang bang bang, the sound of punches colliding with the glove kept ringing. Yes, and excitement. Come on, fat guy. Punch hard and hard, you fucking pig, Che-hyo silently scolded. Lyman Che had told him that when she was training at the gym, she had spared a bunch of pigs as big as that thug, and there was one thing they had in common that was easy to spot. It's that bunch of pigs that very easily burn out and burn out very quickly. So you only need to last 30 seconds, and if you last 30 seconds, the chances of winning will be very high. Constantly receiving punches from the other guy, Che-hyo gritted his teeth, tightening his whole body, just holding on a little longer. 272829. At exactly 30 seconds, the other guy's fist began to tremble and slow down, indicating that his strength had weakened. With that fat, heavy body that was in constant motion, it was now breathing like a newborn sow. How dare you piss me off? What is your plan if you're just on the defensive, junk? Wait until 30 seconds, he will be tired and slow down, and when that happens he must immediately grab Master Ko. It was this very moment, Che-hyo thought to himself, as he had always tried to pay attention to the other man's strength. Immediately storm in quickly, and feed him a hard head strike. Che-hyo ran closer, using his small body and head to jump up and hit him on the chin, a powerful blow that stunned the fat Hungdabong. Take advantage of his slowing motion and knock him down with a fatal head blow. You remember what I told you, it didn't matter who they were, giving your opponent a blow to the chin was enough to knock them unconscious. It all takes one blow and he will win, but that strike must be precise and forceful, which is what Lymanch has carefully instructed. At this moment, the fat guy was hit on the chin, stunned him with white eyes. His eyes were white, and Che-hyo secretly rejoiced at the feeling that he had defeated him. But the joy that flashed in his eyes was soon replaced by astonishment when a dark shadow struck and left Che-Australia bewildered. It turned out that the fat guy was stunned, so he fell over his huge body and pressed down on Kim Che-Australia like a small mountain. This situation made Kim Che-Australia extremely panicked and did not know how to respond. And this guy was too fat for him to breathe. What the fuck is going on? Oh fuck, that fat guy woke up from his fall earlier right now. I don't understand anything, but you're dead, bastard. He just woke up and aimed at the Kim Che-hyo that was being pressed underneath by him. Kim Che-hyo remembered Min-che's words and shuddered. Since he was a nerd, he would be dead if he didn't win it with a headbutt, and this situation made Che-hyo cry without tears. Who this nerd? What are you going to do if you get crushed like that? To everyone's laughter, Min-che thought to himself. Haha, you've got the number, now there's only one last thing for you to do, bastard, which is to eat my punch. Crushed, unable to move, Che-hyo was extremely frightened. The head smash earlier should have been a fatal blow, but it didn't work. Now what should be done? Everyone around who saw this scene laughed with delight. That guy is really dead, haha, the last thing that guy can do is get beaten, haha ha. While everyone was talking, suddenly a hand interjected. Excuse me to let us over, what's wrong? You don't see a lot of people in front. If you're late, watch behind you. But who are you? The thug turned around to see a guy with gray hair appear trying to squeeze in. I'm a second-year student, let's take a look at them, we're bored. It's a guy with a pretty face and a very striking demeanor. This guy's name is Han Philip, 18 years old, in the second year of Dangmin High School. Han Philip, you find these fights very funny, because of you, so I just came here, but I have your hands tied. This guy speaks in English to Han Philip, and he is Chong Danyo in the second year of Dangmin High School. Oh senior, why are there foreigners in my school? The thugs gave way and wondered. Oh, the other two are fighting, this is going to be fun. There's one person lying on top of it. The two of them are in the front row next to Min-che, constantly talking to each other. Hey Chong Danyo, this is why I said we should count soon, Han Philip said with a smile and nudged his friend's shoulder. Chong Danyo replied back in English, I don't want to come. Min-che at the side secretly wondered what is wrong with these two beautiful bastards. At this point, Han Philip looked towards the game that was going on and gestured. Oh, it looks like they're going to do something. In the arena, Chehai Australia was being crushed by the fat guy and a punch as big as his ox wheel raised. "Hey bastard, prepare to be beaten to death." With a resounding blow, that fist aimed straight at his face and fell. The powerful and undodgeable punch made Chehai splash with blood from his nose and drool, looking extremely pathetic. "It's not done, it's too late for you to beg and then you're fucking your mother," followed by a constant stream of non-stop punches aimed straight at your face and slamming down. Han Philip watched without stopping to exclamate, "Oh God, isn't he sniffed too much? If he continues, he will die. Should I stop them?" This situation also made Min Che a little nervous. Hey nerd, he planned to leave it like that and lose? You need to fight, this nerd. Che Xiu's face was punched to almost disfigurement and he couldn't resist, he could only lie there taking the blow. The pain kept coming, causing blood from the mouth and nose to splash out. In the situation of 1,000 pounds hanging by that hair, Chehai Australia remembers the conversation with Li Min Che. "Hey Li Min Tre, I have something to ask. In a fight like this, when my opponent pinned me down on what to do," Chehai asked as he handed over the phone that was showing the boxing video between two boxers. It seemed hard to escape even with a professional boxer. Li Min Che only glanced at the video and didn't care to reply that he couldn't get out of the situation. He looked like a pig and seemed to weigh more than 100 kilograms, and when he got into its grip, it was all over. He certainly couldn't get out, as if he was dead. "There's really no way, martial arts or some other way." Min Che thought for a moment and then replied that there was a way, but it was very difficult to get on that pig, so it was best for him not to be put down in the first place. "Just tell me, just in case. I'm going to teach you how to study hard, like paying back the favor." "Talk about studying, Min Che, get a fucking headache and get up, I'll teach you." Chehai heard that. "Glad you will really teach me." "Yes, I will teach, but you need to practice a lot. Now you push on top of me." Min Che gestured as he sprawled down on the floor in a short tight tracksuit that looked incredibly sexy. This look of hers made Che Shi feel like he wanted to spray blood, his nose flushed. Seeing that, Min Che immediately shouted angrily, "Hey, we're just practicing martial arts, damn, you think of something weird, aren't you, pervert? When you're in this situation, the way to help you get out is to remember it." Back to reality, the fat guy's punches were constantly being thrown by him with anger. "Now you're about to leave, baby. Keep eating punches until you pass out." He loses. "This is what you get when you refuse to be my errand. Don't resist and get wrecked to death. This world is a survival only for the strong. This is the fate of a loser, remember." Hearing these scoldings, Kim Chehai was bewildered with angry eyes. As the fate of losers, losers can be bullied at will for no reason. Think it's the fate of people like you. Is this the fate of a nerd who is not good at fighting and does not dare to fight back? Although the world has laws, at some point people worship the strange weak and weak, which is so. The day before, when Min Che motioned for Chehai to sit on top of her so she could show her how to get out of the situation, the first thing to do is to put one leg back. Then immediately turn around to create a shooting position. Then when one of his knees is raised, it will cause the opponent to lose his body balance. And seize the opportunity to push your hips out at the gap that has just been created. That way he could get out and exit with his hips. Along with the train of thought, in reality Kim Chehai also practiced and successfully escaped the fat guy. After escaping, you must get up immediately in case of being crushed by it again. As soon as the fat guy was bewildered, Kim Chehai Australia ran back and threw another punch to his face. Everyone was extremely surprised and cheered. "Through that guy who just got out and threw a punch with a giant glove, haha." Han Philip with his handsome silver hair watching couldn't help but squirm with delight. "I think he's only good at defending, but he's attacking now. But does it really hurt to be hit with that glove?" At this time, Che Xiu's gaze was extremely resolute and calm. He knew that he could only win it with this gauntlet. "So now we need to fight again and we will find the right opportunity." The first was a left punch aimed straight at the face. Then another punch just in case it reacted. Now it's a straight punch that has to be hard. The crowd around them all gasped in disbelief as the fat guy was repeatedly smacked in the face. The fat guy who was punched and sprayed with blood from his nose looked like a bulldozer. Han Philip exclaimed happily. It looked like he had been punched quite hard. It must have hurt. Seize the opportunity. Two arms with two giant gloves of Chehai Australia constantly spinning and spinning. Then he spun his arms forward in a strange position, and now it was a double hook. Everyone was laughed at by this figure for what kind of stupid move, haha. His cheeks made me laugh to death. This one double hook shot didn't seem to have the expected effect as the fat man's huge arms managed to grab the two gloves. "Hey, are you done messing around, you bastard?" and gasping in panic. Min Che had been relatively calm so far, but seeing it was startling. To everyone's surprise, the big-hipped guy put that giant glove on his hand. Now he looks like a real monster with a cold voice. "Let me use things with this guy." "Dead mother, Kim Chae-ha Australia was terrified, startled to want to die. The situation was completely reversed and the Cotton's hip grabbed the gauntlet with its giant punch rushing forward. "I'm going to beat you to death, coward." Kim Chae-hyo had just reached out his hands to support the blow, but he was inwardly panicking because he thought he was going to be real. It was true that when he lost his gloves to support the blow, he was immediately punched by it and flew away like an irresistible torn, huge fist with such strength. How could he block that blow? Han Philip saw that and laughed. Gosh, he thought he could really block it. The powerful punch sent Chae-hyo Australia rolling around for a few rounds before finally coming to a stop at the feet of the crowd watching the match. "It's crazy, if he uses all his strength to wallow himself, then I'll die." A girl with a teasing voice and closed legs looked at Kim Chae-hyo and said, "What, you see my panties?" The startled Kim Chae-hyo hurriedly jumped up and said sorry, and Han Philip standing beside him immediately cheered her on. "Yes, it is impossible to be here, the battle is not over." Step by step Chae-hyo Australia steps up to that creepy fat guy. Suddenly, at this time, the foreign boy whose friend was named Chong Daniel, who had only been focused on the book from the beginning, now spoke in English. That boy without gloves would probably fight better. "Chong Danny, what are you talking about? You watched it now, didn't Han Philip wonder?" Min Chae at the side couldn't help but think to himself, since they came here they have been terribly loud. The big-hipped guy threw his fist around and tried with the glove and couldn't help but exclamate, but he was also surprised how that guy could wear this. "This doesn't suit me better than you, does it? Now let's hurry to the end, or are you scared to death?" Kim Chae-hyo just punched the air as he walked closer and thought to himself, "Let's relax, if I have to fight with my bare hands, I can still do it." The boy had just punched the air a few times when he suddenly felt something strange. "What's up? Why does it feel like I'm punching faster than before?" Lee Min Chae, who was standing outside seeing this scene, nodded silently. "Hey nerd, have you noticed it now? Do you know how much those gloves weigh? Each weighs 5 kilograms, the whole pair is 10 kilograms. The dumbbell he exercised while preparing to fight Sangbom was only 2 kilograms. You didn't realize it, you swapped your training gear into a 5-kilogram sandbag the whole time, so of course when you remove that heavy thing, you have to be quicker." As soon as a punch with that huge glove from the fat man was over, he sat down and dodged. It felt like his fists were slower when he put on his gloves because he had already dodged. "So now I'm going to play 2 shots in a row so it can't help." Chae-hyo's punches were unleashed with such speed that it was difficult for others' gazes to keep up. Of course, with that huge heavy body, how could the pig react and dodge, so his nostrils were bleeding fresh blood again. Han Philip excitedly complimented, "Oh, his fist was faster." Nothing but 2 more blows that made Cotton's hips scream angrily. That guy wasn't always scratching my itch. One of its huge fists was once again swung. This time, Chae-hyo had paid closer attention to its attack speed and he was sure that its speed had been much slower. So he easily dodged that punch. This time, he would try a hook across his hands. Constantly getting punched in the face, but his body is fat so that fat guy doesn't feel much pain. "What are you doing? You just scratched the itch just like mosquitoes buzzing around, bastard." Han Philip heard this, and was amazed. The faster he closed, the more damage he didn't score. Chong Daniel on the side explained that due to the difference in weight, people are too fat and people are too small. If he can't solve that, he can't win. Repeatedly throwing blows directly at the fat guy also caused Chae-hyo's stamina to diminish and gasp. On an afternoon of training last time, Min Chae had already talked about it, that if those giant gloves didn't work anymore. Obviously, Chae-hyo had to fight with his bare hands, so if that happened, what would he do? Because we have to consider his weight, his whole body is covered in thick fat, punching anywhere only feels soft so it won't score any damage. At that time, Kim Chae-hyo was also very confused about what to do if such a situation occurred. Min Chae had told him to aim at just one point where it didn't have that fat. And on those huge bodies, the place without fat was his knees. Having found the point to break through, Chae-hyo Australia's gaze also became more solemn and confident than ever. Bowing his head dodged the fat man's fist and died kicking hard at his knee. As Min Chae said when Chae-hyo kicked it, it was clear that the knee was where there was no opening. Han Philip smiled happily. Oh, he was aiming at the knee joints, it must have hurt. Maybe this kick also caused the fat guy a certain amount of pain so he immediately screamed angrily, "This dog, now you are going to punch and joke again, you are so ticklish." His fat open hands and huge gloves once again gathered and swung out. "Your mother is an animal." Chae-hyo easily dodged the blow and secretly thought that this pig was getting more and more exhausted, his fists would slow down. Then he could dodge at any moment and immediately punch it twice in a row in the face. But he couldn't forget the kick in his leg, so he had to add another kick to his pillow. The top was punched in the face, the bottom was kicked in the leg, making the fat guy even more uncomfortable. Another punch was thrown but was easily dodged. Dodge and kick and can't stop. Kick one more shot because this guy is too slow to move much. Kick again to put a lot more damage into it. Finally, after a sustained attempt to punch and kick, the fat man's knee was kicked red, flushed, swollen, causing his fat legs to tremble and stagger. Oh really, his knees were all bulging. The crowd watching the game was amused. The fat guy was standing and panting with his legs limping from being badly injured. His mom was done with these gloves and he made me punch much slower, only now did he realize that belated truth. Chae-hyo saw this, narrowed his eyes in caution and began to think. Remembering Min-chae's warning that just the slightest threat from his kick was enough to scare him. And once that happens, try to hit, so Chae-hyo Australia threw another kick. The fat guy thought he was going to kick his injured knee so he tried to reach out to shield the knee. But let's hit another fat-free spot on his body here, Min-chae explained, pointing to the area under his chest. The visceral plexus and can knock it down. Thinking of this, as soon as he distracted the fat man, Chae-hyo immediately aimed at the organ plexus under his chest and attacked. Bang, a resounding bang with punches and tremendous intense damage. The heavy blow made the fat man's eyes go white and he couldn't stop coughing. It felt like his guts had all flipped after this punch. But it wasn't done then, and now it was in a position to knock anyone down when hit, and the instructions of the super master Lee Min-chae kept popping up in Chae-hyo's mind as an effective guide. Chae-hyo's gaze narrowed and his clenched teeth rushed up. Each person's weakness was always in his jaw and he remembered the scene where Min-chae had knocked out the fat thug with a nice pillow strike. So Chae-hyo Australia's legs are ready for a precise pillow strike quickly aimed straight at its jaw. The power of this attack was not trivial, causing the fat man's whole body to fall backwards. His fat face seemed to be disfigured. With a roar, the whole body as heavy as that small mountain fell to the ground, causing dust to fly blindly. Seeing it fall unconscious, Kim Chae-hyo was unbelievably bewildered. After a few seconds, he still didn't move. Hey, he let out a few breaths and wondered if he had actually won it, had won unbelievably in the face of this fat guy. The thugs around all gasped in surprise and laughed. Haha, oh my god, he won. Why does it seem like he was knocked down? You like to lose again, nerd, Min-chae in the crowd thought. Then the girl turned and left just like the previous game, but he still had a long way to go, so try. Han Philip after watching the outcome couldn't help but laugh with great amusement. Haha, that kid who looked like an elementary school student and won was so funny. Hey Chong Danyo, isn't this laughing? I'm glad I panicked the meeting about this. Han Philip laughed and couldn't stop patting his friend's back. Kong Danyo mused and folded his diamond love book into the kit. You should go back there, Han Philip, that's your problem. Where do you go? Go to Chong Danyo, go to the meeting. The crowd was still standing there watching the outcome of the match, including an orange-haired mushroom head who also stood there quietly. He was surrounded by laughter and jokes, but he didn't pay attention and just focused on the outcome of the game. The nerd seemed to be lucky. This mushroom head let out a breath and turned to leave, and his name was 17-year-old Gwahang-sun. At this time, Chae-hyo stood pensively for a moment to make sure he completely defeated his opponent. The last thing after every game is to quickly run out of there. It's best not to wander here or the bullies will beat you to death. On the rooftop of the building in the distance, nerds gathered together incessantly cheering for this victory of Kim Chae-hyo Australia. Oh my gosh, I knew you would. You don't sound like I'm watching cartoons. He's like a knight of our nerd kingdom. Don't yell too loud, the bullies will hear it. Not only did the nerds and bullies watch this match, but there was also a mysterious girl with pink lips nearby who watched from start to finish. The girl hid behind a wall next to a row of bicycles. Watching the match, she couldn't help but think that a bullied child beat the bullied star. Mom, that's so cool. This mysterious girl who doesn't know her name is 17 years old and a freshman at Dangmin High School. That afternoon at a building in Dangmin High School. In this building, there is a room that is a warehouse, a gym. Few people loiter to approach. Inside that room was now gathered a group of thugs with fierce looks and smoke flying around. Hey, you haven't sold it yet. The nuggets that can't sell it will be caught. Want to have a few glasses of wine with me, sister? Haha, sounds so cool, brother. Cook rice. People do not come out. People do not come out. The evils of addiction gathered here is the Dangmin High School gang called the Undefeated Gang. At this time, they were gathering, wondering why the leader had not arrived at this time, if something had happened. As they made noise, the door to the mysterious room was opened. Oh, here he is, the leader has arrived. The person who entered was a person with a thin figure and legs like a girl's legs. He gently leaned back against a row of chairs with his hands in his pockets. Sorry I'm late. It turns out that the leader of the Invincible Gang is Han Philip with his handsome appearance and fair skin. But unlike his beautiful little appearance, He was a formidable guy who was the top one of this gang that the others had to go to. The man who always stood beside Han Philip was the guy who read the book. Even now, when he enters the gang's meeting, he does not leave his book. His name is Chong Danio, top 2 of the undefeated ice. There were some interesting things on the way here, so I stopped for a moment, hearing the leader say that. A blonde asked if there was anything interesting. I heard there's a pretty promising junior, that's why you scouted him at today's game. You mean that fat fucking hips, don't you? Han Phippy shook his head now. That guy wasn't as good as we said. Why did he lose the battle? Yes, he lost and lost miserably. Anyway, we should probably look at the guy who won it. How could that guy be good at it? Han Philip heard this, and immediately looked puzzled with a mysterious smile. Won't you tell me if he's good? Haha, I'm not sure, I just know it looks funny. I watched the game for a while and laughed too much. The blonde heard that and asked, I think we should recruit a new junior if we should approach that guy. Don't wait a moment to see if it can grow, let's just wait and observe the situation. Under the beautiful sunset, each underground geyser with mysterious gangs in this school begins to act. Blink one evening a few days later at Kim Chae-hai Australia's house. At this time in Min Chae's room, Kim Chae-hai is working as her tutor. When fighting and practicing martial arts, Min Chae is very confident and relaxed, but when she does her homework, her beautiful face is like constipation. The girl grimaced incessantly and wrote and erased on her notebook while Chae-hai sat thoughtfully thinking about something. Ah, Min Chae, suddenly Chae-hai Australia called out. I think there's something this needs to be consulted by you. Min Chae heard this and suddenly consulted me. Yes, I just didn't know how to explain it. It's been 3 days since I knocked out that fat guy. But someone filmed it and posted it on Ethiopia. The video also got a lot of views from people online. Now that the whole school knows me, it's like torture every time I go to school. The crowd just looks around and gossips about me. Even students from other schools came to look at me like a rare animal. I even got nudged by thugs 20 times a day wanting to break my shoulder. So what should I do? I'm doomed that I shouldn't draw any more attention. Hoo. Kim Chae-hai cried and didn't stop banging on the table. Gosh, don't you know that the winner enjoys all the respect and attention? Hearing Min Chae say that, Kim Chae-hai Australia immediately fired back. I never wanted to be so respected and noticed, so scary. People kept asking me to fight a fight and more people wanted to fight me. Why can't it end even if I've already won? Why don't people leave me alone? Min Chae heard this and immediately gave an answer. It was because he still looked like that easily bullied nerd. Whatever, I still look like a book. I thought I was doing better. Kim Chae-hai Australia was amazed by this comment. Why not look at yourself to see if you still have a long way to go, this idiot? So how do you not look like a guest again? Chae-hai Australia is extremely distressed and asks his mentor Min Chae. There's only one way, and that's to get stronger. So strong that no one dared to fight him anymore. Of course no one was loitering in front of him. This answer from Min Chae made Kim Chae-hai a little bewildered, to the point that no one dared to fight with me. That's right, Min Chae kept nodding, not so strong that anyone who fights with him will regret it. So the next time someone wants to fight a fight with you, don't say no and fight. He had to win so overwhelmingly for them to be afraid. Kim Chae-hai was bewildered by this offer, overwhelming that meant he had to fight again. It's inevitable even though I don't like fighting very much, so I wonder who I'm going to fight next. The answer to the question of who to fight with will be answered by someone a few days later, which is when the mushroom head appears in front of him and waves hello. Hello, my name is Kwak Hang-sun, here I am. Kim Chae-hai stood and looked at the clown in front of him in shock. What's up, who is this? In the dark of night, a luxury car is driving down the street. At the car door peeked out the familiar mushroom head of the Hang-sun. He held his head in the wind while swinging a cigarette over his lips. And hey Chu Hang-sun, where did you get this car? Hearing the guy next to you ask, Gua Hang-sun answered that he buried it while his old man was sleeping. That's really stupid, haha. Your father's tea company has a car company. Gua Hang-sun nodded for his own sake. He spent all his money on installments while he was empty-handed. What's wrong with your burlap? Let him take care of your body first. Now I'm going to fight it, so keep it tight. As soon as he finished speaking, he threw his cigarette at the door and emphasized the station. The car began to accelerate, soaring down the street much to the delight of the two occupants of it. Well, your driving seems to be on your hands. Haha, see, I shot up 200 kilometers per hour today. Oh, how are you squirming this Dangmin High School? You are the only one who transferred from level 2 Gumaiyong to that school. Haha, I heard that the seniors there are hard to chew. Are you ever considered a failure there? Gua Hang-sun heard his friend say and laughed. You mean something to fail? The monkey shut up. Haha, I am such a coward. You should remember I used to be the second bully oligarch in middle school. The other guy heard that and laughed. You dreamed in broad daylight. Haha, you considered the second big brother just because you followed flattery into that school boss. At that time you didn't even dare to fight. These words pierced Gua Hangsun's black heart, making him angry. You said something, dog fights are only for idiots. And you stop thinking I'm flattering that guy. That's called relationship control, you idiot. In addition to predators that often identify each other, we must also show that we are predators. Sounds cool, haha, what are you going to do? It's simple, I just need to get a herbivore for me first and eat it alive. The guy sitting next to me wondered if Hangsun was talking about the zoo. Oh my god, I was talking about those easily bullied losers. But not a random selection, but a lucrative prey. That prey must be a name that both helps me improve my reputation and burnish my name, and is a prey worth taking advantage of as well as being able to win. The more he heard, the more he laughed. But what kind of cooking did you plan on when you hadn't even fought before? Haha, Hangsun couldn't help but protest against his mother. At least I learned boxing for 6 months. Mom, there are 6 months of you asking to hit someone. But does your school have such a failed name? Yes, my school has just had 2 defeats from the other struggle. 2 notorious sangboms. And the Hyptocoton comes from Busan. Those 2 idiots were defeated by a nerd loser, after which the nerd's name was buzzing, so of course he was a lucrative prey for me. That's why Gua Hangsun has been paying attention to Chehai Australia for a long time. This is the loser. Hangsun with a mushroom head stared intently at the nerd in front of him. Then he slowly dragged his red sandals that made a creaking sound closer. One arm reached out to wave. Hello, nice to meet you. My name is Gua Hangsun, that's Tada. It was for these reasons that Gua Hangsun suddenly appeared in front of Kim Chae-hyo so suddenly. I'm a 6th grader, you know me. It's okay, haha, you don't know me, it's normal. I'm the only one who moved here from middle school, so I don't know a lot of people here, or can we make friends? This sudden suggestion alarmed Kim Chae-hyo. How could it be so sudden? But he looked familiar with him, as if he had met somewhere. That's right, that time, the time Chehai Australia had just defeated Sangbom, a bunch of thugs came to see Chehai Australia's face, including this guy. At that time, Gua Hangsun was also unwilling and even teased and belittled Kim Chae-hyo. He said that he won that bastard Sangbom was just luck, haha. Yes, he was the guy who had spoken to me after that, but why did he change his attitude so suddenly? At this point, I didn't see Kim Chae-hyo reply as he reached up and stroked his hair as he said, honestly, I mean I'm quite impressed with you. Chae-hyo was dumbfounded. Yes, impressive. Do you remember the fight a few days ago? I really enjoyed watching the movie, and the scene that day was no different from the movie, especially the process of him beating that fat guy. He didn't know how cool he looked at that moment. Suddenly receiving a compliment made Chae-hyo gasp, not knowing how to respond. Do you think I'm cool? Asked Chae-hyo in amazement. Of course, haha, normally you don't hear people often compliment you very cool, Hangsun said with a smile and was extremely friendly. It's not always the first time, I've only heard that from my mom, and now I'm hearing people compliment me on a cool fight. The feeling of recognition was really touching, Chae-hyo thought as he put his hand around his heart, and Gua Hangsun continued to praise him. What was his name? I'm sorry, forgot to introduce my name as Kim Chehai Australia. Oh, Chehai Australia, your name sounds so masculine, so be friends from now on. Gua Hangsun showed a smile that he thought was very cute and reached out his hand to shake hands with Chehai Australia. Okay, that's fine, but you said your name was Gua Hangsun, right? Chae-hyo shyly reached out his hand to shake hands while thinking when was the last time he heard from this friend. This guy is a bit peculiar on the outside, but he has a warm heart. After receiving the agreement to make friends, Gua Hangsun turned and left. Next time tell me more about your fights, see you later. See you soon, Gua Hangsun. Just like that, Gua Hangsun left and Chae-hyo stood there waving. At this time, there was a disdainful smile on Gua Hangsun's face. Haha, that idiot I laughed to death and yet was fooled by my role so easily was really naive. I'll lure him in the net first so he can smuggle his guard and then execute him as soon as I get the chance. That evening, at Kim Chehai Australia's house, as usual, the class went on. Do you understand this formula now? Once you master this, you can definitely do the basic exercises. Min Chae brain puppet nodded okay. If okay, then solve the questions in the workbook. No and no. Lee Min Chae just sat there doing his homework without stopping to sigh boredly. Sighs echoed through the room, while Chae-hyo sat down in his chair contemplating something. In that sigh suddenly his contemplative face became unusually excited. Hee, I'm really cool. This is the first time I've been complimented by someone other than my mother. He even offered to be my friend. The last time I heard that word friendship must have been a long time ago. I had almost no concept of friendship before, but it didn't seem bad. In my head I couldn't stop thinking, Chehai Australia opened my mouth out of this glass. Min Chae, exactly, what exactly are friends? What the hell are you talking about? Can you stop talking that while I'm doing my homework? Oh sorry, you do it. Cheek, this song is hard, God. But now that I've noticed, Lee Min-chae rarely sees you with your friends at school, don't you make new friends? Lee Min-chae scratched her head to solve her homework and replied, what kind of friends are I going to soul alone to study? Why should I waste my time hanging out with friends? I have a lot of friends downtown, so there's no need to make any more connections. Oh yes, you mentioned my friend. I just remembered that my friend was coming to our house today to play. Chae-hyo was surprised by this news. What did you say? What else do I mean? My friend is coming here and I asked your mother's permission yesterday. You've got my big round today, he's coming over today. Hearing her friend with a huge chest couldn't help but gasp, startled, and at the same time the doorbell coincidentally rang. Hearing the bell, Min-chae said he must have come. Why is it that she suddenly came to play dead and dead? Hey, calm down, I just told you, and then hurry up and open the door quickly. The constant ringing of the doorbell made Chae-hyo even more hurried, and here at night waited a little. Kim Chae-hyo rushed downstairs with all his might, ran straight to the door, and hurriedly reached out and grabbed the door lock. The door was opened gradually ajar. Kim Chae-hyo's heart was constantly beating at this time. Lee Min-chae's friend was a person with a terrible first round. I don't mean I'm a warm-hearted person, here she is. When the door was completely opened, Chae-hyo's eyes glared at the person who had just walked over. Appearing in front of the door was a beautiful lip of a girl with a sweet voice. Hello you, haha. I've heard so much about you. It's great to finally meet you. This beautiful blonde girl named Sarah, 17 years old, is Lee Min-chae's best friend. Haha, damn, this is real. Why are you really that nerd? Bring this glass inside you just like that anime addict, haha. The girl who walked into the house couldn't stop laughing and talking non-stop. Chae-hyo's insides were extremely alarmed. Did he just say something that was something he should say when he met someone for the first time? And according to him, it felt like my ears were going to bleed. At this time Min-chae also ran out to wave hello. This farther away you came. Sare saw that and shouted loudly, this agitated piece of fucking stir-fry, haha. I've missed you so much, but why are your breasts different every day? What the hell are you talking about? Min-chae scolded. So you have a lover, and why does it get bigger while you're in love? Facing Sarah, Min-chae's teasing, loudly frowning. Having a lover has nothing to do with my breasts, it's nonsense. While the two girls are constantly agitated, Chae-hyo is still in shock, standing bewildered on one side. On the day of the opening, there is a place to sell boneless chicken legs here. I ordered to eat. Yes, I want to eat, haha. Chae-hyo looked helplessly at this scene. It was only 30 seconds and everything was already chaotic. Oh yes, this is Chae-hyo, he's the name of a book I told you when I called you. Haha, I know I said hello earlier. But did you know that he actually likes girls with big tits, so every time I talk about him he's always flushed and looks so excited. Chae-hyo hurriedly reddens me like that. Sarah heard this and happily turned around to reveal her huge breasts. Hey boy, give you this intimate hug. Chae-hyo was immediately made to blush all over his face by this look of the girl, but he was about to drip blood. Why is his body crazy? This reaction of yours made the two girls couldn't help but laugh. Haha, your reaction was so funny. Oh my god, I never touched that, haha. But I'll give you a hug instead, I said as I rushed over and hugged him tightly. The plunge was so strong that Chae-hyo lost his balance and fell backwards. With one shot the two of them slammed into the floor. This is that strangulation blow. Do you see my martial arts high? Suddenly being attacked by Chae-hyo, numb, his whole body can't move. What do you do? This is that strangulation. Can't you escape? Chae-hyo cry, no tears. Oh my god, I can't escape me. I don't learn this way. Can you let me go? I can't breathe. I'm dying. Suddenly, for a moment, Chae-hyo's eyes were closed and plunged into darkness. It was a moment later that a certain pair of legs on his stomach were constantly shaking. This one, wake up, nerd, don't sleep anymore. At this time, Kim Chae-hyo was startled awake and panicked. Why am I lying on the ground like this? Just passed out, you idiot. Hurry up and put chicken legs for us to use his card. Why is it mine? I'll give you back when I get my allowance. Then, under reluctant intimidation, Kim Chae-hyo had to lay chicken legs for the two girls. Have a good taste, have a good appetite, colors. Kim Chae-hyo folded the chicken leg in bewilderment as she remembered to ask when her mother would be back. He didn't hear why she said she was going to attend the company's 2 days and 3 nights seminar. Hearing this information from Min-chae, Jin-ki was startled and panicked and waited. You told me at the time that you were going to the workshop, so Min-chae, you and Chae-hyo will have fun with you. That's what she said. These words, the more she felt devastated, she didn't even bother to say to her son Hoo. The Sarah girl was rummaging through something in her pocket. Hey stir-fry, do you know what comes with the best chicken legs? It's sochu, haha. Seeing the right Chae-hyo screaming in surprise to drink, Min-chae saw him react so vehemently and scolded to shut up the nerds and remember to keep it a secret. Then Kim Chae-hyo sat on one side looking at the two girls who didn't hesitate to drink. It was impossible that they were drinking, they were typical bullies. Min-chae finished taking a breath of wine and let out a great scream of excitement. What is it? We are only third-grade students, Chae-hyo exclaimed. 1, 2, 3, out of glass. The two girls kept nibbling on chicken legs and didn't stop drinking together until a few hours later. Guys, no matter how drunk you are, at least you shouldn't be sleeping here, Kim Chae-hyo cried helplessly. Hey, let's go to bed and sleep. In his drunkenness, Lee Chen picked me up. What you want me to pick you up? Well, it's because you asked me to do it. Reluctantly, Kim Chae-hyo had to carry the girl to bed so she could continue sleeping. Mom, it's so tiring to finish cleaning up this pile. Kim Chae-hyo stood beside the long straight bed without noticing a mysterious shadow approaching right behind him. The shadow was Saare, the girl who now closed her eyes suddenly on Kim Chae-hyo's back. Then, coincidentally, Kim Chae-hyo was lying in bed with a flushed face. Because facing him now was Min-chae's sleeping face. Right behind her was the beautiful Sarah girl. This awkward situation was sandwiched between the two girls, causing the boy's body to stiffen and not move. Because she was drunk, Min-chae's clothes were a little messy to reveal her white shoulders. Even Saare wore a very tight shirt that further flattered his huge breasts, which made Kim Chae-hyo's heart beat fast. His inner self was constantly screaming in bewildered despair. Why did this happen? Then I couldn't escape because he hugged so tightly. Or I can't move, I'll sneak out when he turns to the other side. It wasn't what Kim Chae-hyo thought when both girls thought he was a pillow, so they hugged him even tighter. Soon the night passed again and sunlight began to shine into the room. Kim Chae-hyo was fast asleep when he was awakened by Min-chae's cold voice. Hey nerd, woke up quickly. Why are you sleeping here? Do you want to die, this idiot? At this time, Kim Chae-hyo's consciousness gradually cleared up, remembering last night, so he immediately jumped up in a panic. Why did I oversleep here, and I apologize. Sarah lying beside him didn't know when he woke up and gave him a wink. You're pervert, if you want to sleep with us should at least say a word. Gosh, you're the one who won't let me out there. I don't want to sleep here. After a while, the three of them, after adjusting, had breakfast together. This ramen noodle is really delicious. That's what you do. The Sarah girl ate the noodles while complimenting. Oh yes, you said you used to learn martial arts, right? But come here today and want to try and fight me? Kim Chae-hyo was stunned by a martial arts duel. Min-chae heard this and explained that Sarah was good at this subject. He practiced at the gym with her. Well, okay, we're going to fight. Think for a moment. Kim Chae-hyo Australia, and there's no refusal because there's no reason to say no, and remind you that you've never fought anyone but Min-chae. You should also try to fight someone to reassess your abilities. Okay, then let's get started. The battle between the two of them was decided over the loudspeaker. It had to get underway quickly. Entering the match, Kim Chae-hyo Australia did not dare to look down on the girl in front of him, immediately preparing to attack. But in front of him Sarah stood still without any defense. What was going on? At this point her hands squeezed together, making a crackling sound as if she were warming up. Then one of her hands came out with a soft tone. Boy, are you really going to hit me? Kim Chae-hyo was bewildered by this look of hers. Why did he suddenly? But just as Kim Chae-hyo lost focus, Sarah's already outstretched hand hit him quickly in the face. The sudden punch made it impossible for Kim to dodge the blow, but received the full punch, then fell backwards to the floor. Oh hey, look closely, we're fighting, huh? Kim Chae-hyo before he could react was punched so badly that tears sat on the ground. It was so much that he suddenly attacked so suddenly. Saare heard that, smiled. Haha, we were fighting. Who said you didn't take precautions and absent-mindedly did it? Lee Min-chae also nodded in agreement. Yes, focus on nerds, how could he be so distracted? After resting for a while they resumed fighting. Kim Chae-hyo attacked here again. Seeing this casual look of Kim Chae-hyo secretly clenched her roast and sighed. Don't look down on me. But why did his gloves come out like that? I don't know why to do it now, so let's start with a nudge first. Without too much time to think, Kim Chae-hyo immediately rushed forward with his extremely fast fist. As soon as that fist pressed against the body, it was blocked by Sarah's hand, unable to take a step forward. With just one attack, he was easily repelled and Chae-hyo couldn't keep his composure. He blocked it with that arm. His push was too slow to be blocked. Then try again to see if Kim Chae-hyo Australia doesn't come up. Unfortunately for him, any punch was easily anticipated and blocked in time. Unbelievable hit and blocked all the stars. Meow, you're so slow, idiot. Haha, Sarah laughing and teasing. Kim Chae-hyo didn't pay attention to her words and was still contemplating how to break it, both too far away for him to swing the next attack. Then he had to get even closer. He had to hit these two shots in a row. The first shot I'm going to swing doesn't matter if I'm blocked or not, because his real weapon is a straight strike from the right hand. The effect of these calculations could not be clear because Sarah's punch at that moment was extremely approachable. One more shot, why did her punch hit me before me? Those were his last thoughts before he passed out. Hey rope koi haha, a foot that doesn't stop shaking. In an unconscious coma, Chehai Australia is awakened by this action and a strange scent. What happened? Why did I smell fermented bean paste? Until Chehio was fully awake when he found someone's toe constantly poking at his nose. What are you doing? Kim Chehio immediately jumped up and cried bitterly. What's crazy bean? Why poke your foot in my nose? Sare hugged his stomach and laughed. Haha, reward him with a good smell, isn't it? Gosh, I almost vomited. Oh my god, it's just a blow and you've already passed out. Let's start over anyway. Kim Chehai Australia didn't want to finish the workout so quickly and nodded in agreement. Yes, okay. This time, he had been much more careful to constantly evaluate his opponent and secretly find her flaws, but what was the matter earlier? He hadn't hit any of them. Lim Min-che sitting beside him watching couldn't help but remind him, Kim Chehai's eyebrows, you still don't see the difference, you look at Sarah's figure. Getting the reminder, Kim Chehio was stunned. How about he? His right arm and leg in front. When playing, you will usually have your hands and feet behind you, so that means. It means that Sare is left-handed, so he is Sa Pao. Why Pao but Min-che? Do you know the spelling of that word? Suddenly being asked by Kim Chehio about the English question, Min-che was startled to shout, what the fuck does that have to do? After all, you see that Sarah is always far away from the fight, right? When right-handed people play against each other, their arms and legs face each other, and because their legs face each other both can come closer together, making the swing distance shorter. But when playing against a left-footed person, their dominant leg is in the same direction, so it is difficult to approach, making the distance longer. He often had to take a careful position to reduce that gap, Min-che meticulously explaining for a moment that Kim Chehio was still confused about his mother. After all, left-handed people play by taking advantage of the distance, so they have a slight advantage against that right-handed person. Sarah kept blocking his blows with his front hand, wasn't that? After blocking he stepped back so it felt further and further apart. At that time he felt impatient, so he rushed closer to fight and acted like that and fell into Sarah's trap. Not sitting anticipatingly when he was hit with a counter-attacking punch on the left side. Left-handers, also known as counter-attacking boxers, they usually competed in the form of aiming for a big blow. These hours of words that are both strange and professional are awkward, and aim for a big blow, that sounds pretty cool. Because it's rare for anyone to be left-handed against Sarah now, that would help you a lot, remember. The left-handed man was harder to deal with than he didn't realize, because he had only fought Min-che once, he didn't have too much experience. The familiar warm-up movement squeezed his hand, and the sound of Sarah's bones began to echo again. Let's start over here. At this point Kim Chehai Australia did not have time to react when he was slapped by a slap. It's not enough for me to improve your reaction next time, haha, come here. The next punch Kim didn't dodge in time and landed it on his face. Our next game or the reverse. But I hope you both never fight again, Kim Chehio prayed bitterly. Not done, haha, haven't fought yet, but you get up. A few days later at the high school everyone was attending. At this time, Gua Hangsun walked down the corridor while constantly muttering the melody he liked. Only that his already small eagle-eyed gaze was now staring blankly ahead. The walking Gua Hangsun suddenly stopped because he saw a familiar figure ahead. A Kim Chehai Australian looking from behind me knew it right away. Spotting Kim Chehio, Gua Hangsun hurriedly stepped forward to catch up. Kim was walking when a basketball suddenly hit her head. He looked back bewilderedly to find the guy holding the ball in his arms. At this point he looked surprised and opened his mouth to say sorry. Oh sorry uncle, I thought you were a friend of my class. Well, you're Gua Hangsun, it's okay. Knowing he got the wrong person, Kim Chehio smiled and ignored it. Gua Hangsun saw this stupid reaction of the guy in front of him and smiled slightly in his heart. Look at him, he reacted like a nerd. Chehai Australia, you're not angry, are you? Kim Chehio heard that and shook his head. Yes, everyone makes a mistake, it's no big deal. This guy's cheek is like a book that wants to bully him badly, haha. Sorry, I feel guilty, so I should give you this, Hangsun said as he offered something red. Kim Chehio hurriedly shook his head in refusal. No need. No, you just take it. I feel guilty, so I give it to you, reluctantly being put in the hands of the bummer, so Kim Chehio has to say thank you. Hey Chehai Australia, you like to play games, no meals, go to Net Cafe, I will cover, Net Coffee okay, but you don't have to. Gua Hangsun just left and waved his hand back. It's okay, I like everyone else, and see you later, my friend. Haha, he believed it was always fun to play with him. After teasing Kim Chehio for a moment, Hangsun walked down the hallway when he spotted the noisy crowd ahead. The giants who were chatting loudly were the big guys in the first year. Those three names are well-known gypsies in high schools in this area. Seeing them squirm, Hangsun thought to himself that if he got to know them, he might raise his eyebrows. When it was time to show off his communication skills, thinking so, Gua Hengsan immediately approached the other 3 men and said hello. One of them looked at the mushroom head coldly and asked who you were, and Gua Hengsan greeted me with a flattering smile from the next class. My name is Gua Hengsan, that's Tada. What disgusting face is that, haha. Gua Hengsan was teased but not shy and smiled back. You guys collapsed for me, why are you guys finished eating, do I have good food, go smoke it. Go to the recycling site, I'll let you guys smoke. With just a few flattery sentences that Gu Hengsan was able to join that group and go to the recycling yard. At this time, he couldn't help but feel good in his heart for his excellent communication skills. The 3 thugs were walking when one of them suddenly asked, do you know who beat the hips, that bubbly fat guy? Gua Hengsan walking behind him was a little startled when he heard this story because it sounded like they were talking about the nerd Chehai Australia. Thinking of this, Gua Hengsan immediately approached the thug's shoulders. Hey, you guys are curious about that guy, how I know him. Of course I'm used to it, I'm having a lot of sex. It's not you exactly, it's my petty name, rather, I feel guilty so I teach him how to fight. Oh, why did you teach him how to spank? At this time, Gua Hengsan revealed a cunning dangerous face. Yes, haha, that guy has been starting to be overbearing lately, and soon I plan to teach him to be more obedient.